We are live. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Hopefully you guys are having a good week. I'm having a good day. Sorry, this was a little bit late. I'm getting started just a few minutes. I took my dog, the Cava Beast, since his official name now is Cava Beast, for a walk, and I got stopped by a neighbor that could not let him go. So it took me a little bit of time to get over here. All right, we got a good show tonight for you guys. So first off, if you have any questions, the best thing to do is to do the @ StackingSurfer. That way it'll show up so I can see it. If we've got a lot of people in here tonight, we got a lot of questions, then you may need to do a super chat so I can see it. I'd prefer you guys, if you want to donate money to the channel, support the cause of sound money. I'd prefer that you guys do channel memberships to give those out. I'm going to be coming out with a lot of videos for channel members only. They're not going to be for everybody else. Memberships are only $3 a month or so. And there's going to be some exclusive content that's just for that. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. I'm going to show you guys, if I can get my phone set up for a second camera, I'm going to show you guys a few projects I've been working on. So, I mentioned to you guys, I'm stepping back just a little bit to get more things in order for my family. So I've got water set up now. I've got power systems that I'm working on. Those aren't quite set up yet, but I do have the units, at least for what I need for main emergencies, but we want to get it set up to the house grid. It's not there yet. Food storage. And then I've also started a hydroponics garden. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of that stuff tonight. And then I'm in the process of making videos, and those 4 videos are going to be member-only videos that go out. Prepping stuff is not beneficial to the channel. It kind of kills the channel if I put it out. And I don't have enough time to go create a new channel to hit prepping. So we'll do those as member-only. That way we don't have people going, this isn't what I signed up for. It's not gold and silver. And they just take off and leave. And then it kills your algorithm. So that's kind of that. The other thing, if you can put a super chat out, I'll see those as well. You can do whatever you want with that, but I think you can do them for like $1 or something like that. So it makes it easier if you've got a big question you want to hit. All right. So, let me do this real quick too. I'm going to pull up, another window of this. So you guys, so that I can actually, now the sun comes out and blinds me. That I didn't expect. All right, let's do this. I am going to, I said I could barely even see myself. I didn't bring sunglasses out here. All right, a couple things I do want to show you guys real fast too, or I want to talk about is where the market's at. So there's a couple things we're going to hit today. One is we're going to talk about gold and silver. We're going to talk about where it's going, what's happening. Are we going to see it drop drastically? Are we off to the races for a new all-time high? We're going to talk about mining stocks, okay? And then we're going to talk about the difference between the two. Stacking physical versus mining stocks. Okay, there are some differences. You could see some different things that happen there. They're not always going to be going in the same direction. And as a matter of fact, the mining stocks are still way undervalued compared to silver. You haven't seen the same increases. We haven't had a 3-fold increase, for example. If you take it back down to, say, $25 price up to 75, we haven't seen that with the mining stocks at this current price. Okay, got up there when we were higher, but then it was, we were almost at a 5x return on silver. So we're going to talk about that tonight. I'll show you guys a little bit of this setup I have for some of the emergency preparedness stuff in my house. So I'll show you guys some of that briefly. There will be videos coming out on that stuff. And then if you guys haven't done so, one of the things I would recommend going back and watching that have just come out recently is I had a great interview with Lynette Zhang. So I'd recommend going and looking at that interview. And then yesterday I put one out with Eric Young, King Kong 9888 on X. And he hits a lot of stuff about China, which is pretty good. And, he talked about just the demand and how China is buying more silver now than they ever have. And then even if you look at gold, they're buying more gold in fiat dollar prices drastically more than what they've bought in the past. And they're still buying a lot of ounces. So that's a good video that's in there as well. I have another interview that will be coming out soon with the guy that heads up sales and marketing over at Sigma Metalytics. So we're working on that interview. I've got another one on the 13 Caesars, which is going to be pretty cool. So silver and gold coins that are ancient, that have a lot of collectability. And I think it's about a $55,000 coin. So that's probably going to be going out next week. And then I've got another one from John Eric, out in Las Vegas, that does the cool, bricks, the metal bricks for holding your coins, okay, or your slabs even. And I know that's not for everybody, but it was a pretty cool video. I happened to be in Las Vegas at the time, so we went out there to go make it. And he has some of the, I think, probably the best prop cash I've ever seen. And I think prop cash is perfect to put into your house if you need to test the honesty of someone, or in your dummy safe, so that if you have to open that up and people see a bunch of cash, hopefully they take that and they leave. All right. Okay, so I want to show you guys a couple cool coins I just got in here as we're getting all of this set up. So we're going to do that. And then let me just get another window over here so I can see any of the ats StackingSurfer you guys put up. That'll make it a little easier for me to see your questions. So if you've got questions, this is Ask Surfer. That's how we got this thing set up. And, I want you guys to ask questions that you've got. I want you guys to get the answers that you may not be getting the answers you're looking for, but hopefully we'll get you a good answer anyway. All right, let's do this. Okay, so one coin I want to show you guys I just picked up. And this is the issue you've got to deal with eBay, right? The case is cracked, so I don't know if it cracked in transit or not. They only make 500 of these coins, so I'm going to need to find a better case for it. I need the original one, but this is a really cool set I've got. This is the 4th coin in the set, so it's the Gangster series. And these coins have a hole through them, so you can see my eye right there. And this is the 4th of the coins. It comes in a cool wood case. And on the back of them, it looks like a nice revolver with gold gilding on there too, which is pretty cool. So it is an official coin. It's 2 ounces. They only made 500 of these. They're from Pick Coins. And, I'm kind of mixed on whether I'm going to keep it or sell it, but I figured I needed to complete the set. There's only 500 of them before the last few of them go up. This one looks like it's number 184 out of the 500. And they do come with COAs too. COA is a little, I got to kind of iron it out a little bit, put some really heavy books on it to straighten it out. It got a little bent in transit. I got another one that just got sent in by Spectre Coins, and we're going to open that too. This is one that I think Yankee Stacking is going to be very jealous of, and I'm trying to get him a free one as well. So I got to talk to Yankee on this, but we'll open that up in a little bit. All right, and last one I'm going to show you guys is this. We'll talk about that in a minute. So let me get this all set up real fast with you guys. Don't know why it's not doing this right for me. Just a second here. Okay. All right, now I can see the other chat, and that will make it so I can see questions you guys have. So go ahead and start asking your questions in there, and we can get to those. All right, so let's talk gold and silver real quick, where the market's going. You guys, no one knows for sure, okay? If anybody's telling you the markets are going up or down with 100% certainty, they're full of it, okay? No one knows that. We can look at charts. The charts can tell us the momentum. They can tell us the sentiment, meaning like, are people hot on gold and silver, or they're not hot on it? We can see the momentum. We can see current price relative to the top and the bottom within the last year. Things like cup and handles and other technical terms, and in chart characteristics that show that we've broken out of a certain pattern that was going on before. Everything in charting, it has to do with patterns. It has to do with channels breaking up or breaking down on those channels. So a couple of things I just want to throw out there for both gold and silver. They are still in their bullish patterns right now. Okay. In a lot of ways, they're super bullish. And the reason I say that is, we are sitting at a level that we've been hovering at for quite a bit with gold and silver. We've kind of been in this channel with silver for a very long time, for years, actually even 45 years, if you want to go back to the Hunt brothers, where silver's been trading somewhere between about $15 and $50. Okay, we've now not even gone back to 50. Okay, so you'll get some people that will, tell you that it has to go back down to $50 and test the 45-year cup and handle breakout. It doesn't have to, but it makes sense if it does. It doesn't make sense if it doesn't. Okay, so my guess is it's still going to go test down there at some point. I don't know for how long. And it may not happen until we have a big stock market correction. Okay. Now, a lot of people have been talking about stock market correction for a very long time, and it seems like it never comes. But when it comes, and it's going to be bad. That would definitely send gold and silver prices a lot lower than where they're at today. Now, that's one of the reasons I do recommend for people who are getting started to dollar cost average, so that if you're buying now at $75, $80, and then next thing you know, it drops down to 50, you have money to still be buying at 50. And if it drops down to 30, you've got money to buy at 30. I have a hard time seeing it go below unless we have a 1929 style stock market crash. The momentum is up. Okay. Everything's pushing gold and silver up right now. Even the wars aren't really dragging them down. There can be like a short-term thing that happens for a day or two, which are really just knee-jerk reactions. But silver continues to hang above $70, and gold continues to be, above $4,000. So when I look at that, I still think we have a pretty bullish stance for it. I still think we have a very high probability of seeing, $180 to $200 silver this year. I still think we could see $6,000 to $6,500 gold. The question is going to be, how long does it take to get there this year? And, what other circumstances are going to, get in the way or propel it that direction? So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I'll say on this, when I look at mining stocks, and then we'll get to your questions in just a second, everybody. So when we look at mining stocks, they have not overperformed yet. Okay, so typically the metals move first, then the mining stocks come into play, and it starts with the majors, then it goes to the juniors, then it goes to exploration companies. Okay, that's the pattern that traditionally goes. When you look at that, the other issue you start to run into is towards the end of a gold bull run, you typically have oil spike, and that oil spiking will kind of slow down the mining companies. But typically you'll have gold slow down and hit its all-time high and start to come down and correct a little bit, because it usually overshoots. Usually we'll see that happen, and then miners go for about another 6 months, and they continue to go up until everybody realizes gold's not coming back. And in that time, you have silver really take off and do its thing. So those are the kind of patterns we're looking for and we're watching for. I recently sold some of my miners, and I've bought some of those back again. I've kind of traded into different companies, some more stable ones. I've got plenty of investment in the metals. I don't need to go too crazy putting it into a bunch of junior miners. If you want to take a gamble on it, you can do that. Some of those are going to hit. Some of them aren't going to do anything. So you got to do a lot of research if you're really going to get into that. And I'm not against doing that, but I don't put a lot in miners. I do have some in miners, but it's like 0.5% of my portfolio is kind of where I put things in. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to look at your guys' questions real quick here too, and then we're going to show a few other things around the house here before it gets too dark. All right, so I want to welcome all you guys out. If you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. That way you will see this channel in your feed. There's a lot of great interviews we do on here with some of the top people out there. I think I've, one of the smallest channels to get a lot of these big names, which has been pretty fun. We'll see if we can get them to keep coming in. And, we also, I'll do things at the beach where we ask people about gold and silver and, what's it worth, and would they rather have a Klondike bar or would they rather have a silver bar? And we're going to hopefully do more of that this year. down at the beach and at the malls. I've just got to get someone that can film, record for me. I haven't had that. And here in California, you don't set up a tripod and a camera and then, stand 10 to 15 feet away from it. It disappears and walks away. So we do that. And then we also talk a lot about stacking philosophies around that, economics. And then we'll be doing some stuff for the member only videos around prepping too. We'll also have some great videos around my opinions of what I do, how I'm stacking and a little bit more of the how is what's going to be for the member stuff. The what and why is what you're going to see mostly on the public channel. All right, let's see what you guys here. So T. Aberson, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. There's a lot of letters that are there. I will show you guys my barrels today. Okay, I've got 160-gallon barrels, and that's what I store for water. Here in California, it doesn't rain. We don't have any rivers or lakes that are nearby. We do have a reservoir that's nearby. I'd have to go hike some hills to get to it. I'm in the southern part of Orange County where it's very hilly, and your neighbors may have pools. And so I didn't think about this until the other day, but I probably need to get some chlorine shock tabs just in case. I need to find a pool that I need to clean the water up a little bit and then be able to filter it. So I do have filters, but I don't want my filter to get completely nasty with algae and other stuff like that. But I'll show you guys that in a minute here too. So we got a $1 super chat. I'm going to see if I can hit that on here. I think I'm bringing up this way here. So thank you very much for that as well. I do appreciate that. And it does help the channel with the things we're trying to do. Also, I don't know if JT Coin Rings is on here, but I got my coin ring back on. So he took a Morgan dollar and it was a 1921, guys, nothing super rare. And by the way, if you turn your constitutional silver, including Morgans and peace dollars, into a coin shop, they're going to get melted anyway. So if you're worried about stopping the melt or you don't want to destroy any of the history at all, then you got to hold on to it. But I see it a little differently with this. I now have a coin ring I can pull off and I can explain to someone that this used to be $1. And I can tell them how much this is worth now. And my wife has a matching one. So we didn't waste any of the silver. You can still see the markings that are on it, which is pretty cool. And it's a little bit of silver you get to carry with you, right? Which is pretty cool. All right, let's see what else you guys have to say here. Goldbacks, let's hit that for a second. So this just got sent to me by the Goldback company. And the reason I have this, it's a 69. The reason I have this is I signed up to be a distributor at the Long Beach Coin Show. And that gives me a discount. It allows me to buy these at a good price and help other people out too. So I am in the process of getting a website set up here, hopefully pretty soon. I'm shooting for June 1st. I don't know if we can get it up that fast. Maybe we'll get it up this weekend. I don't know. But one of the things I'll offer is Goldbacks, right? So I want to make it easier for you guys to purchase these things. Goldbacks are great if you buy them at the right price. What's the right price? Well, you should be buying Goldbacks at the exchange rate or lower. Okay. So I'd have to look it up on the app. I guess we could do that real quick. I think I have a Goldback app on here. So they're not sponsors of the channel or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I was told until I have 50,000 subscribers, they won't even come on the channel again. But I do like them for emergency backpacks. So if you've got emergency 72-hour kits or go bags, I like them for that. They're really lightweight and they carry a pretty good value in them. And I'll show you guys just in a second here what the value is. And so you can have some real gold with you to use for barter and trade if you got into an emergency situation with those packs. You can also put them in between the leaves of, like, say, a driver's manual in your car. Just if you go to sell a car, remember that you might have done that. Okay, make a note somewhere. They're also really fun to use if you can go to a place locally that will take them. So here in California, we don't have California Goldbacks. Not yet. They're coming this summer, kind of a limited edition. But we don't even have, the state of California doesn't like sound money. They just like fraud. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there. That's what they like to do. They like to steal all my tax dollars and hand them to their friends. That's what they do. And at the same time, there's more locations that accept Goldbacks in California than I think in any other state. So you can go onto their site and look that up. But right now, a Goldback goes for $9.46. This is going to be the calculator that you can download, or you can go on their website. So in my opinion, you should be paying around that. Okay. Now, there may be a little bit of a cost for shipping. There may be a little bit of a tax cost if you're buying and you're in a state like California where they require you to buy $2,000 to not pay sales tax. So you need to look out for that. But if you go to an online bullion dealer and they're charging you like $14 for a one Goldback, that's ridiculous. Don't do that. I would definitely. You like that? Hey, Yankee, I got something for you. Okay, we'll come back to Goldbacks in a second. Now, the one thing I will tell you with Goldbacks is I don't stack them. Okay, I use them for emergency preparedness. That's kind of how I use it. If I were in a location or I had the time to deal with it, I would definitely look at using them for fun to kind of do sound money stuff again with local places. Even though we have a lot in California, I haven't had the time to deal with it. But I wouldn't stack these things. They are 100% premium, okay, on top of what the actual gold value is that they have. So from that standpoint, I wouldn't go buy hundreds of these. I'd go buy 10th ounce coins if you're going to do that for fractional. But you get to a lower fractional on these than you will with a gram of gold, a half gram, and they're a little harder to lose. But anyway, they sent me that Goldback for signing one of my friends up so that they could get some Goldbacks at a discount. So it's about helping you guys out. Okay, this is for Yankee. Okay, hopefully Yankee's still in here. I saw him pop up here for a second. So, well, I think it's Yankee, except that it has an X on there. I don't know why. Oh, maybe he's over on X watching this. I don't know. But if Yankee's watching this, and if he's not, I'm going to have him watch it. This just got sent to me from Spectres out of Singapore. And this is a really cool coin. This is the George Washington flintlock pistol. Okay. So here's what's cool about this thing. First off, it's really cool when you have a channel like this and someone sends you something to do a quick little video on it. And they get the best bang for their value because usually cost a little bit more to do a video than just handing a coin over. But I'm happy to acquiesce as they continue to send some good stuff. So the outside cases can be a little hard because of the tabs here, guys. And I don't want to rip it. I will be doing a video on this down at the beach, hopefully this weekend, so maybe tomorrow. Okay, so don't rip them. Get a little sharp knife to get these open. But this has been on my bucket list, and I've wanted to get one of these, so I'm pretty excited about this. So here's what I want to show you guys. This is how it comes. George Washington flintlock pistol. It is a coin. Okay, it's a coin. So there you go. So also I got a little squirreled here. If you guys haven't done so, hit the thumbs up. That'll share the video with more people. Yeah, I don't know about question marks. Oh, look at that. Inside hidden George Washington. Okay, so there's the box. They do a good job with that. Okay, now here's what's cool. They've got a certificate of authenticity. So this is number 599 out of 1,776. Good choice and how many they've made of these. Okay, so once they're done, they're done. There's George Washington crossing the, I think it's the, I should know. I think it's the Potomac River, but that's in New York. I don't know if that's the right river. My brain. Okay, so here's the box it comes in. They give you the Delaware. You're right, Delaware. Okay, so here you go. This is the box. Comes with a nice little clasp. It's got some brass on the outside there. Nice hardwood. It's not fake stuff. Okay, a little tag moved on us, so we're going to put that back in this corner down here. When I go to show you guys, it's just kind of sitting there. Okay. So it's a 2-ounce flintlock pistol that is a coin. I don't have my gloves, so I'm not going to take it out and do anything with it now. I will in the video, so I'll give you guys some really close 4K pictures of it when I go to do it. And the way that this is set up is these are pieces you can put on your desk. And so there you go. You put that on your desk, and no one's going to think that's silver. They'd have to go look at it very closely, but you can say, hey, yeah, this is a cool little thing on George Washington that I have. So you can see that if it was sitting down, that stays in there fine. Uh-oh, it moved on me. I don't want to touch it. All right, give me a second. I'll use my shirt to put it back in. All right, it's back in now. Oh my goodness, give me a heart attack. Anyway, there it is. That's really cool. So I'm gonna see if I can hook Yankee up with one of these things. So I gotta get a hold of him. And I don't know if that was his X account that he was joining on. You guys won't see it if he's in there from X. We are streaming to X, and we're streaming to YouTube today. So if you guys are on X, hit the, I think it's just a heart. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. All right, so that's fun, right? I think it's fun to get coins like that. Okay, that one got sent to me to do a review, but I still buy things like that from time to time. I bought this coin here. This cost me, after taxes and shipping, about $500. So it was a little less than some of the others. Now I know why. The case is broken. So now I got to write to them and see if I can get a different case. But this will go in a set of coins that I have, and I'm going to be putting those up for sale on my website as well as on eBay soon. And why would I put something like that up on the website for sale? Because if I find someone that wants to buy it at the right price, I'm willing to move it. Otherwise, I like to hold on to these pieces too. So this is also another good display piece. So, you know, I'll buy some of these fun things from time to time, but don't stack these. Don't get like 5 of these things. Don't get 5 of these. Don't do that. Okay, you're going to pay big premiums on it. You're much better off going and buying silver eagles, silver buffaloes, gold eagles, gold buffaloes. You know, that's going to be your best bet. All right. I got sidetracked. So these kind of work. I can kind of read this a little bit better. All right, let me get back to where you guys were hitting real quick. With your questions, I want to make sure I answer those. So we hit Goldbacks. So that's my thing on Goldbacks. The 3s, I think they're only doing graded, and you can buy them, or you can basically get them if you sign up for an account. So anyway, I want to have those on the website for you guys to buy, and I'm going to try to get the best price that they'll allow me to sell them at to help you guys out with them. I do think they're cool. I think they're fun to have, but that's what they are. They're cool and fun. They're definitely not something you want to have, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars invested into if you're trying to go for the best bang for your buck. What I will tell you is my first one Goldback I bought was at, I think it was $2 and like 45 cents or so, maybe 59 cents. All those that I have appreciated. Now they're going for almost $10. Okay. Now gold's gone up. Those have held their price because there's a market, and that's what they're willing to keep the market at. That's the exchange rate that has to be offered when you go to use them at places. Okay. So that's the Goldback thing. I think 2-ounce Scottsdale Lions are pretty darn cool. I do like those. I like a lot of the stuff that comes out of Scottsdale Mint is pretty cool. My favorite 10-ounce bar to stack right now is the 10-ounce Scottsdale Mint bar, and my 100-ounce bars of the Scottsdale stackers. They just fit easier in your safe or your vault. However, I would love to get my hands on an Engelhard and a Johnson Matthey 100-ounce bar. And one of my friends just melted a Johnson & Matthey. Well, it's kind of sad. So he did that. And it's fun to have some of those, but I also don't know if I really want to have a bunch of 100-ounce bars, because pretty soon those are going to be $10,000 bars. And they just get a little harder once you start to get to that, to that point to move them. All right, let me see what else you guys have. So Yes, Crab Nation, if you guys are from International Stacker, I'm hoping to have him on this channel soon, and I'm hoping to go on his channel as well. We've had our first conversation back and forth via email. So hopefully we'll move that to texting and we'll be able to get something set up, which would be fun. So he's got a lot of great stuff over there if you guys haven't been there. Okay, CME lowering margin. Okay, so they're lowering margin. That doesn't mean anything. Okay, guys. What I mean by that is it's not just because they lowered margin, people aren't going to flock to it and just go crazy with futures. They're lowering the margin because no one's buying futures. Okay, so it's kind of like if you're at a grocery store and you sell a product there and no one's buying your product, you're probably going to pay more money now to put it at the end cap and try to get the store to promote it. That's what's going on there. Now, what you do want to watch, though, is you want to watch and see if people start buying futures. Okay, so that news by itself doesn't mean anything. It just means that they've taken the fees down to what they were in the past. And so no one's buying futures. As soon as people start buying futures and you start hearing that they're raising the price again, that's where you need to be paying attention. Because if we're having momentum at that point, they're trying to slow it down. And that's where you're going to be looking to see if you can get a little higher, or if we're going to maybe have a little bit more of a correction that comes down short term for it, like we saw in, the last 4 times they did it. So it is news. It's not an only news point. It's the same thing with the COMEX. If the COMEX ends up having force majeure, where they basically just start paying out cash instead of silver, that's going to be something that's really going to freak out the YouTube channel stuff and X, and you're going to see it all over the place, and people are going to say silver's going to the moon after that. It may or may not. Okay, it depends on who has those silver contracts that can't get the silver, and do they really need it? They may be okay taking the cash, and they just don't play CME anymore. At the same time, it's going to devastate CLV, in my opinion. I think it's going to really hurt that ETF, because they're still going to have the silver, but I think it's going to hurt it because I think people are going to decide, well, I don't want to do this anymore. But that's my assumption of people that are playing that actually care about having the physical metals. If they don't, and they're just trying to play the stock market with silver, then it won't do anything. Could that blow things up? It could, though. If you have a bunch of companies and individuals, billionaires, and countries that are holding a bunch of that silver that's in the COMEX, which it's not just SLV, guys, it's also other ETFs, and well, there's other things that they're storing there too, and they store in different vaults too. But if that happens, and you have people or countries or companies that need that silver in the future, they just didn't want to take possession yet, they're going to race out potentially and try to go buy a bunch of silver so that they can go out and have the supply they need to manufacture, right? What happens if there's no more silver and Tesla can't get a hold of it? Elon Musk can't create any more Tesla vehicles, right? So the business dies. So they will pay what they have to pay to get that. If they're smart, they're already putting arrangements together with silver mines and getting it from the beginning of the supply chain, or they're already stockpiling silver. And I don't know that they're doing that, but that would be the smart stuff to do. So as far as lowering the margin, yes, it's something to watch, but on its face, it's not something that's just going to make it go skyrocketing. I was watching after the fact Silver Dragons and Yankee last night, and Yankee made the point that could be something that would make a big difference. And it's true, it could, but it depends on if the people come back to the futures of silver and they start buying it. And that's going to depend on where they think silver is going. Do they believe Michael Oliver that we're going to see $300 to $500 silver this summer? Do they believe it's going to go back down to 50 or 40? They may wait a little while. All right. So now I'm going to try to pull these up on 2 different screens. Let's see if I can do this right, guys. This is going to be a little bit tricky. Let's see if I can pull this off. All right. I'm seeing them in tandem, so bear with me a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of run up to where we're at. All right, so surfer's eyes. If a banking crisis hits, are community banks and credit unions in a better position, or will it affect everyone the same versus Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, etc.? All right, so in my opinion, I think the big banks would like to see the little banks go bye-bye. And, they'll be protected, the big banks. So they're not going to let them all fail if they fail. I still think we're on the edge of a knife. And that's one of the biggest. I think the banks failing is a bigger deal than anything at the COMEX or the CME, to be honest. I think the bank failure is a much bigger trigger to everything that can be going on out there. There's, from what I've been told, there's about $100 billion in FDIC insurance to shore up about $11 trillion in deposits. If we have a systemic crash in the banking system that requires more than $100 billion in FDIC insurance, you're not going to get paid out, even if you are below the $250,000 limit. And that's one of the big risks of having cash. And you're just not going to get paid out. It's going to be a bail-in to try to shore up the bank. And then the big banks will end up getting bailed out, even though that's not how they're supposed to do it legally. That's what they'll do. The small regional banks, credit unions, if they get hit hard, they'll probably just get wiped out. They let all the savings and loans get wiped out. They did nothing for a single one of them. And yeah, they were doing riskier loans on subprime and negative amortization and things like that. But at the same time, it was the only way that they could be profitable and keep their businesses running because they'd been regulated that way. So they were kind of forced to sell, those kind of products. And those products work really well in an up market. They don't work as well in a down market. So are they better positions, community banks and credit unions? They're different positions. Okay. So all of these are businesses. Okay. It all depends on how that business is being run, how risky it is, and, how much reserves they have, all of that stuff. Banks aren't really required to hold reserves anymore. Yankee was talking about this last night too, which is true. I forget the term for it, but basically the reserve that's been created by the Fed has already been used, and it was a lot of billions of dollars. 200 billion is the number that's in my head. I don't know if that's right, but there's a lot of money that they had to go to basically come up with to do that, and that's called printing. They are doing quantitative easing. They've been doing it for quite a while now. And you're seeing that if you're buying anything at a store, prices continue to go up. So we are still having inflation. And what we haven't seen yet is we haven't seen what the oil stuff's going to do. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what I recommend is if you've got a lot of cash, okay, even if it's for your business that you own, I recommend splitting it up into a couple different banks. So I recommend having a credit union, a regional bank, and a national bank. The reason for that is it spreads your risk out from 3 different institutions. It also spreads your risk out across 3 different kinds of product. Credit unions should theoretically be the least risky because they really only lend to their members, and those members have to meet some kind of criteria, as well as most of the time, you're going to be someone that deposits there. So they usually tend to be more conservative. They don't lend out as much. So those are probably your best, cleanest bet. However, they do a lot of car loans, and they also do consumer credit cards. And if people get clobbered with, let's say AI takes out a lot of jobs and people don't have, the Cava Beast is coming. Let's see if he will come say hi for a second. So on the credit unions, you probably are less risky with it, but I wouldn't guarantee. He likes the packing material for the George Washington flintlock pistol. All right, come here, buddy. Okay, real quick, he wants to say hi. Oh my gosh. This is the Cava Beast, you guys. If you remember, he was this little puppy. He's now 22 pounds. He's like the biggest Cavapoo I've ever heard of. And he's only 6 months old, so he's got some room to go. What do you think? You say hi to everybody? Oh yeah, you're gonna okay. Here you go. He's fighting me. He doesn't want to leave. All right. Okay, that was your intermission for the second there, guys. All right. So as far as credit unions go, I think those are probably your safest bet in general. However, if we have a lot of consumers that get wiped out with debt, we have like, say, a depression that comes in or a really bad recession, credit unions could be at major risk. Okay. Regional banks. Regional banks can also be at a lot of risk from the standpoint of they tend to be the companies that own a lot of the office space, strip malls, shopping centers, and your low rise and high rise buildings that house office space. And if a lot of jobs go away from AI, or we're in a recession or depression, you could see them get hit very badly from that. And a lot of that stuff is refinancing and continuing to refinance over the last year and a half. And they probably have got another year or two to do it, because with commercial loans, you've got to refinance every 3 to 5 years. It's basically going to put a lot of businesses out of business that have that, and you're going to have a lot of empty buildings sitting around potentially. So that's your risk there. The big national banks, their risk is derivatives. They invest money in pretend stuff that doesn't exist, or they rehypothecate silver 400 times, basically. You know, it's crazy stuff like that. So yeah, they're all risky. And so if you want to mitigate risk, you need to go get multiple banks. You need to make sure you're below the $250,000 limit. If you've got a trust and you've got multiple beneficiaries, talk to your CPA and the bank. Your attorney in the bank. You can go much higher. You can go well over $1 million for FDIC insurance, but I'd be careful. I wouldn't risk it with one institution. And you guys have a lot of bank accounts. It's a pain in the butt to have multiple banks and multiple accounts at the banks and all this stuff, but it's just a safety, precaution. All right. So I'm going to kind of run down. I'm just looking for the ones that have got the at. And let's see. I don't know. That was it. Maybe you guys haven't been putting the at down. So if you have any questions for me, put the at down, and we'll try to do that, because let's see. I'm seeing 2 different things. Okay. So yes, be your own bank. Now, there's a couple ways to be your own bank, and then it means different things to different people. So some people like to be their own bank by taking a bunch of money, putting it into a life insurance policy, funding the heck out of that thing, and then they basically borrow against it, and then they pay themselves back, and they don't end up paying any interest. I think there's some fees for borrowing that money, like transaction fees with the companies. I've never tried doing that. There's some, I don't know, short acronym for that process and what you do with it. I don't trust insurance companies, so there's no way I'm going to go put $1 million in with an insurance company, get a life policy, fund the heck out of it, and then take all the money out. I know people do it. There's a guy, Coach JD, that does a lot of stuff on YouTube that talks a lot about those. It's not that I hate them. I don't trust them. If we have a big systemic financial collapse of banks, insurance companies are probably going to have some major issues too. So I just don't want all my money in the system like that can potentially have huge issues. Now, the only exception to that I would look at is if you're going to take the money that you borrow against and go buy another asset, like real estate that is cash flowing, that can pay any fees that you need to pay, as well as, it has the right cap rate and it has the right rate of return for making sense to own that. Then you could kind of do that, but you got to be careful playing the shell game with stuff. I had some high school friends that got up to, I think, 99 properties or 100 properties in 2008, or right before 2008. They lost every single one of them because they over leveraged them. They put renters in there that could not afford the homes. And so when everything started unwinding, they lost all of it. And had they taken some of the profits and paid some of the properties off, put them in different LLCs, they would have been able to protect those and still have them. So you got to be smart about how you do it. Now, we will get into other cool things on either this channel, or if I create another channel down the road. As gold and silver goes up, there's going to be strategies on what in the heck do you do with all this stuff, right? So just imagine for a minute, and we'll come back to some of the other questions you guys are asking. Just imagine for a minute that we get to a point where we're sitting at a $20,000 gold, and we're sitting at let's say $1,000 silver. Okay. With those kind of numbers, if you've got a substantial stack of precious metals, you now have a lot of wealth. Okay. What do you do with that? Gold and silvers, no matter how many you put into a cigar box, they're not going to multiply on their own. They're not going to create kids or children. I've tried. It doesn't work. So you're going to want to get yield somewhere. There's going to be things we'll be talking about down the road. I interviewed with Rick Rule about Battle Bank. I'm going to be trying to figure out that here pretty soon to understand that a little bit better. I was one of the early people to put in a request, so hopefully we'll be one of the first people to get in there. One of the things you can do is borrow against your gold, and I think maybe silver, but I don't know what product you put in. I think you can just put your own stuff in segregation in a BRICS vault, and then I think they just tie it to it, which would make it a lot easier. But with that said, there's going to be options that you can look at in the future. And so instead of having a taxable event where you sell some of it, and I know a lot of you are going to lose it in an unfortunate boating accident. However, you got to remember that, there could be different laws. There could be different things in the future that don't allow boat accidents. Okay. There could also be issues in the future that, or when you're moving things around, that it's just too much visibility and all that stuff. So be careful with boat accidents is what I'm going to tell you guys. So always talk to a CPA, an attorney, look at the law, follow the law. Okay. But those are some things to kind of look out for and watch for. All right. Now we got Yankee Stacking in here. This is the official Yankee Stacking. I don't know if we had Yankee in here earlier. So Yankee, I don't know if you were on X or what that was earlier, but did you see this? George Washington flintlock pistol. So if you're looking at that, these guys want to send you one. And I think I sent you an email, and they've been trying to get a hold of you, but they'd like to send you one or maybe even like 10 things. I don't know what they'll send you, but a bunch of stuff. If you want one of those, I'll send you an email to get you in touch with the right guy. I've got his personal email. But he'd like to send you a handful of those. And I think all he's asking for you to do is give him a shout out on it. So I don't even know that you need to do a video on it. You may just do a shout out on one of your lives. You guys work that out, but it's pretty cool looking. Now it's not huge. Okay. But it is 2 ounces. It is a coin. Okay. I don't know how many pistol coins you got, but that's a pistol coin, which is pretty cool. So we'll do that offline, but I wanted to show you that. I thought it was pretty cool. All right. So you had a question for me up here, Yankee, I think on floors, or maybe it was a statement. Let me just see what you had on here. Okay. Where's your silver floor in May, assuming we don't have a banking crisis, which is very close with the emptied reserve repo facility? Yeah, that's what it was, the reverse repo facility. So honestly, I think the floor that we're going to see, unless something drastic happens, so let's call that an SHTF without one of those happening, I think we're going to have a really hard time going below 61. I think 61 is the floor. We keep bouncing off of that. So I don't think we're going to go below 61. I think we're probably going to stay above 70 for a while too. Now, the one thing that I'm kind of looking at and watching that, I got chart guys that come on and they really talk about this. We still need to hit the 200-day moving average. You don't have to. The markets can do whatever they want. It's healthy for us to hit that and to bounce off of it. It gives you kind of a good place to go higher. So theoretically, if we went down to say 50, I think it's about $55, $56 is the 200-day moving average. And that's a calculation, guys, and people use different spot prices and everything else. So it's not like a one size fits all for everybody. But with that said, I think that if we hit something like that, or even the 61, the reason I don't think it's going to blow 61 is every time we get there, everybody goes crazy and they start buying again and they start going up. Now that's where it gets interesting from what Yankee was saying too, with the CME group, lowering down the futures price. So yeah, and I didn't look at it closely. Maybe they've lowered down the reserves that you need to hold as well. That kind of goes hand in hand. When you look at that, I think there's a strong probability that we hit 61 and we see a pretty good bounce up, and it would be pretty fast because that's where I think the future guys get in. I don't know if they're super excited about buying futures at $75 right now. I think they'll be more interested at 70 and 68, 65 and things like that. But 61 is probably the lowest I think it would go down to. So I'm holding a little bit of cash on the side in case we hit that. But, I'm still buying. I bought, these whatnot guys are always chasing me down to do an auction on there. So I was playing around with it and I ran into Daniel Diaz from, oh my gosh, I'm going to get his group messed up. Shoot. It's a sound money group. Sorry guys, I'm having a little bit of brain fog from the Lyme stuff this week. So I've got to work on with my doctor. Talked to her earlier. So sorry about that. Daniel Diaz, he's a great guy. So Yankee, you'll have to put in there the organization. I can't, it's there, but I can't recall it. Brain fog's not a fun thing to have, and it does creep up on me every once in a while. He was on there doing an auction, and I decided to buy, to help him out in the auction, guys, on this whatnot thing. And, the crazy thing is no one else was really bidding. So I picked up like Morgan dollars and half dollars, significantly below spot price. And then I felt bad, but he kept running the auctions. And so I bought a bunch of silver from him about a week ago. And I always have that sent to my vaulting facility in Utah. There's reasons for that. But I do that. So I have bought some silver. I did buy a little bit of Citizens for Sound Money. There you go. And I'm hoping to help those guys out a little bit. I believe in that cause, and I want to see, what they can do and how they can help. And let's see if we can fix California. If we can, I know everybody wants me to move out of here, but the weather's awesome here. If we could get everything fixed, maybe we can get a Republican governor in here. Maybe we can get them to clean up the voting stuff nationally. Maybe things could turn around here. I don't know. I think the state's very purple, and in some ways I think it might still be red. I think we have millions of people voting that aren't supposed to be voting. Actually, I'm not even sure they're voting. Someone might be voting for them. When you do mail-in voting, you can do a lot of crazy stuff. So why vault in Utah? Well, this is a private vault of someone I know. And so one, sales tax is a thing. And number two, it gets it into a different jurisdiction, a different place. I like to have my metals in different places, not all in one location. There's also a brand new vault facility that they just did for BRICS up in Salt Lake City. So it's another one I'm kind of looking at. I think Andy Schuckman's starting to use that one up there. If you guys vault anywhere, you need to make sure that it's always segregated. And you need to understand how they separate everything out, how often they do audits. The other thing you can do is these private safety deposit boxes. But just make sure you know how to get into it. What happens if the electricity goes out for a long period of time? What if there's civil unrest and you can't get to it? What can you do with it? Can they liquidate for you? They can in probably a BRICS vault. They might be able to liquidate for you. You might have to move it to a different company helping you with those metals. But safety deposit boxes, no. Usually they don't do that. You've got the key. So that doesn't really come into play too much. All right, you guys are asking a lot of questions now. I got to get my glasses on here. Is it buy time? It's always buy time. I'm always buying and then I sell on eBay things that I shouldn't have bought a long time ago. And it's usually because I bought more than one of them, or I just have too much of that kind of stuff and it's not stuff that I want to pass on to my kids per se. I'm a sucker for Star Wars, so I do have like a 300 grams solid Star Wars Death Star. And I'm never selling that. That thing's cool. I need to get it out and put it on my desk. But I think it's a buy time. Now, is it a back up the truck time? No, not in my opinion. But my average price for silver purchased overall is well below where we're at now. I'd have to look at it, but even with some of the dumb purchases I made with expensive premium stuff when I first started stacking, I'm still probably pretty close to $30 or so for my stack. It might even be a little bit higher than that because I did buy some more when we were starting to break out of the 45-year cup and handle. I had some more money, so I was buying another big chunk, and that's probably throwing it off a little bit. but I'm still quite a bit below where we're at here. So for me, I don't need to back up the truck for myself unless there's a really good deal and I'm looking to flip it. I'm actually pretty close to hitting my goal for silver and I'm done. Like I don't need more silver. I'll put my money into other investments unless there's a back up the truck moment. When those come, then I buy that and I sell it at coin shows or I sell it online. That's another situation. That's another deal of things that are going on. But yeah, I would say now's still a good time to be buying. As always, not financial advice, just a guy with crazy hair and forgot to shave wearing a lumberjack jacket that calls himself Surfer. Try to figure all that out. All right, let's see what else you guys have in here. No soup for John. Uh-oh. Taxes. So yeah, there's tax strategies and stuff, guys, that you can do. So when I buy on Whatnot, it's not me buying, it's my dad buying, and I send it to a vault place. So everything is up and up. Okay, there's no tax issues there. They don't have sales tax in Utah, and I'm not buying it for me. I'm buying it for my dad. So that's how that works. And then someday I'll probably inherit it. So here's the website for Citizens for Sound Money. I do recommend checking them out. I'm hoping to work with Daniel a little bit closer with him on California. We want to start pushing on California. There's a few people that are here to do stuff, so that would be cool. South Carolina would be awesome. I've got this little, I know it's not exactly what I want to do, but I did find this really cool farm outside of Charleston that is completely surrounded by massive trees. I just don't know if that's too close to the coast for all the things that go on. But I would be tempted to go out there. Now, there you go. That's what we should be doing on here, is watching surfing too. I just don't have a TV behind me. And I'm not sure how to really do it on here well enough without it having issues. So yeah, here's the tough thing, guys. California is awesome. It's one of the most beautiful states you can go to. I think, I think Yankee wants to come out here soon and do some, actually, I think he already did come out here and did some trips. We got great national parks. The beaches are pretty clean and awesome. The water is a little iffy, so clean yourself off when you get out of it. But the weather you can't beat. It's the best weather in the country. The problem here is that as a nation, we've allowed this state, and I say as a nation, we've allowed the state to get overrun by Marxists and socialists and communists. And every one of those groups of people have done all kinds of things to stay into power here. And the problem with that is California has such a huge percentage of the US population that whatever happens here forces industry to change everything else. So it forces you to get those stupid buttons that stop your gas engine at a light. Okay, that's a California. Those things all tend to start here in California. The eco button. I mean, like, why do you want to press a button so that your car's gutless? Go buy a gutless car if you want a gutless car. Don't put that in a nice car and then, have it default all the time. I want to rip that stuff out. There's things like that that'll get hit. And so you really don't want to root for people leaving California, going to other states. If you can, you want them to stay, or we need to have a lot of conservatives move back here. We need fair voting. Something has to change, because if you don't fix this state, the rest of the country is going to continue to have more problems. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, I love other states too. I've lived all over the country. And so, it's killing me here to pay the taxes all the time. I'm 11% state income tax. And once you combine federal and once you put in property taxes, I'm pretty close to 50% taxed, and that doesn't include sales tax. So, I'm someone that makes good money that feels like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Hey, Rob, good question. This is kind of interesting. So there's two ways to look at it. Okay. One of the things that I look at is if we ever get a revaluation of gold, I think there's a high probability. Okay. I think we're going to get a revaluation of gold. If we're going to get a reset is a different situation. Okay. So revaluation just creates a bunch of money for the Treasury Department, and then they can go use that to buy other assets, pay off debt, or I don't know what else they want to do with it, but they could do those things. if we get a complete reset of the currency, I think minimum it's going to be $50,000 for gold to reset it. That's if we have the amount of gold that we say we do. It's about 8,300 tons or so. And so what I like to say is, okay, if that ever happens here, then gold's going to be worth about $50,000 an ounce. So I recommend having 1 ounce for every $50,000 in net worth you have. And the reason for that is if we have a complete currency reset, your real estate's going to get hit hard. Your stocks are going to get hit hard. Your cryptocurrencies, I don't know if what they'll do. But that's kind of why I go with that number. And I go off of my total net worth, including my home. I don't go off of everything, subtracting my house out of it. So, for me, that takes me to about 24% is kind of what I look at. And this is just gold, not silver. So the other day, I think it was either Rob or Richard was asking, that number only gives you 10%, right? Being in the precious in gold. It depends on how you do it. A lot of people will take their house out and they go off of what their investments are and they want to have 20% of that in gold. So that's up to you guys. I have a lot of, equity in the house here. And if something happened to the house with a massive earthquake, I need to be able to try to come up with a way to support that. Obviously, I can't get $50,000 an ounce today. So it's an insurance plan. It's not a perfect one. It's just a guideline. I go higher than that, with more ounces, or I basically go lower with it. But that's just kind of a number I've come up with and stuck with it. I think it's been helpful for people. As far as the stock market goes, I don't think you should have any money in the stock market unless you're comfortable having the risk of being in the stock market. It could crash at any time. Even the silver miners and the gold miners, if we have a big stock market crash, that stuff's going down hard, and it'll go down harder than the physical metals will. And by the way, the physical metals will go down too, but they'll also recover faster, and you'll probably see them skyrocket as everybody decides, hey, I'm not sure if the stock market's going to take 50 years to recover. I'm going to throw all my money in gold and silver. At least historically, that's what's happened. So there's not a percentage I would even say you need to be in the stock market. It depends on what you're comfortable with. Now, if you need cash flow so that you're not having to sell gold and silver every month to pay bills, then you might look at dividend stocks. You might look at real estate. You might look at, I guess you could look at bonds. I don't really recommend those, but you might have to do a few things there to create the cash flow. So not a financial advisor. Frankly, I've fired every one of my financial advisors because I've yet to find one that is any good. I'm just being honest, and I've had some good ones. I guess that's not true. I had one that was one of the best in the country, and this was back when my family had a lot of money, and he was courting the family, and he let me do crazy stuff that usually you can't do unless you've got a lot of money, okay, like 30 million plus. And so I was getting into IPOs. We were doing a lot of stuff. I was getting about a 14% return a year on my own mutual fund for Jared, for StackingSurfer. I didn't have a buy into someone else's mutual fund. I had someone managing it for me. That's pretty cool. Outside of that, though, everything else, when you don't have crazy amounts of money like that, I just go buy ETFs, index funds if you really want to do it. But there's not really a magic number for me on that. It has to do with your cash flow more than anything. Yeah, dude, don't go into the LA streets. Like when I go to the Diamond District to go sell stuff to our smelter, we're packing multiple guns in the car with multiple people. You have to go through Zombieville to get there. And then even when you get out, it's not really a real clean area that you're going through, and you're just walking into these high rises, and there's like diamonds and gold and silver all over the flipping place. And there's like no security. I don't understand it. So we bring our own security to those things. So that's cool, you guys. There's some really good weather out there in South Carolina. I think South Carolina is pretty cool. North Carolina is pretty cool too, by the way. Tennessee, I've only been to once, so I don't know it that well. But that's another place that I kind of have my eye on, especially because of the state taxes. You're never going to find any proof of widespread voter fraud, but I can tell you it's happening. I don't need any proof to show me it. I can just look around and see that the way that people are voting in California doesn't make any sense. And the population centers don't make sense in what's going on. They just send you ballots in the mail. I could go into every mailbox down the street the day that they do that. I could go collect them all, and I could fill them out, and I could sign and forge a signature on them and send them in. And unless those people call up and say, hey, I never got my ballot, it's going to get counted as a vote. That's a crap system. You got to go into a voting poll where you're in a box where no one can whisper to you to tell you what to vote for. Go find out what you're voting for. Like, we got to get back to the fundamentals here on this stuff. I can tell you that there's massive problems here in California, even if I can't prove it. Just look around. Like, who votes to have all this homeless stuff going on? You can fix that problem, by the way. It's not an unfixable problem. It's just a very profitable problem not to fix. All right, let's see what else you got here. I know. It'll happen at some point. Look, I'm tempted right now to sell my house, buy my in-laws RV, and travel to all the coin shops in the country, quit my job, and go do that, and film it all. And hit every coin shop and rate them. I think that'd be fun. My wife's almost on board, but I don't know what to do with my kids. They still aren't quite ready to leave the nest, even though they're in their 20s. We're going to have to figure that out. But I am very, very much interested in doing that. Let's see what else you guys have in here. When will silver be over $100? When it hits $100. I would be extremely surprised if we don't have $100 silver again this year. I've had people tell me that we're not going to see it for a decade or longer. Anybody that says we're not going to have $100 silver in the next decade does not understand inflation and doesn't understand how bad of a situation we're in financially as a country and as a world with our fiat currencies. There's no way. I mean, I see no situation where silver is below $100. Like, it never goes above 100 for 10 years. I can't see a situation where that really happens. Even if everything falls apart, there's just not a dollar anymore. It's not priced in dollars. I don't see that happening. I mean, the only real reason they could do it is if they do like a reverse split on our money and they try to bring it back down. But I don't see them doing that. So yeah, this year sometime. It's hard to predict it exactly. Michael Oliver keeps pushing real hard that this summer we're going to hit $300 to $500 silver. I can tell you, if you're not sitting on very much silver right now, and you think that's a possibility, that's something to take into consideration. I definitely would not make a bet on that, planning on selling in the summer and go load up your credit cards with debt or an equity line of credit or something like that to go buy silver because it's going to $300 to $500. Don't do that. That's not smart. But stuff that you don't have to sell for 10 years, and you're thinking, do I buy gold or silver? That sounds like a pretty good silver play to me too, even though silver's, I don't know, what's the ratio at? You guys, maybe you can find the ratio faster than I can. 62.32, okay? Even though we're at 62.32, if you think silver is going to a 40 or 30 ratio or lower, then it's still a pretty good buy. But you got to be smart with this stuff. You got to ask a lot of questions, come into these chats, watch the channels, learn what's going on. None of us have all the answers. We're really just figuring stuff out on our own too. The big thing with a lot of the stacking channels that I think is more important than, say, the gold and silver channels, where you've just got journalists doing things, is I don't know how much metals those journalists really have, and they tend to have agendas. When you're listening to stacking channels, we have a bunch of this stuff, so we have to stay on top of it. Like, it's never wise to put a bunch of money in an investment and then not pay attention to it. Too many of you guys buy mining stocks and you have no idea who owns the company. You don't know if its earnings are coming out. You don't know if they've outperformed their earnings. You're not looking at tools. You're just like, it's on a list and I'm going to buy it because it's all going to the moon. It's not how it works. So be careful there. So what would I guess? If I'm just going to make a guess, I would probably say there's a good chance by the end of the summer we've hit $100 again. That would be my guess. I still think we're getting pretty close to $200 by the end of the year. And, we've got to hit 100 by the end of August, in my opinion, for us to get close to that number. If we haven't done that, then I might pull back and say that we're probably not going to go that high. It's going to be maybe low hundreds for the year. And that's not necessarily where December ends at the end of the year. All right, what else you guys have in here? You got a lot of questions zooming in here. So try to put the @StackingSurfer in. That helps me see it a little easier. Okay, so now I got you guys all going crazy on the vaults. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to turn the light on here real fast. So the beauty of working at home is you can be in sweats all day. All right, and my hair is done, by the way, guys. So this is this is like the new curly surfer do. It's not my choice. My wife said I had to do this if we want to stay married. She likes it, so it's a Mrs. Surfer demand, I guess. Okay, there's never a should. Anytime you start asking shoulds, you're asking the wrong question. Okay, there's never shoulds in the world. There's only possibilities and options. If you show your face like I do, and you live within the distance of this house behind me, I can pretty much throw a ping pong ball and hit the wall. Okay, those are close proximity. I'm not too far from major freeways. I'm not too far from the ocean. It's not that we had Chilean cartels up in the hills over here, robbed $500,000 from a 2-year period of time. And they cracked everybody's safe, and they took their gold and silver, whatever they had, and they took cash, and they took watches and purses. So if you live in a dangerous area, you vault, first off. If you live out in the country and there's no one for miles around you, and you can put a safe in your house somewhere where no one's going to find it without ripping your whole house apart, you're pretty safe. You don't really need to necessarily vault. I do recommend getting safety vaults or safes. Those are going to start at about $1,000 for a good one, maybe $800. If you're paying less than $1,000 for a safe, it's probably not a very good one. I do not get touchpad keypads. I do not touch that stuff. I'm too worried we could have an EMP or a solar flare that could short circuit that thing out, and I don't want to have to be drilling into these safes. So I only go with combinations, and some of these you can get with 2 combinations, and you can open it up manually. I do recommend if you have, I don't know, let's say you've got over $100,000, maybe even a couple $100,000 of metals. I recommend starting to get the TL 30 by 30 safes, and you can get them by 6. So every side of it's super, super good. Those are the big jeweler safes. They're going to run you 10 to 12 to 15,000 bucks. So, you got to be smart about it. Where I do see an advantage in vaulting is if you want to have physical metals that are segregated, so they're your metals, they're your actual coins, you can go pick them up, but you think you might liquidate those because you would need to pay off something, or you want to be able to turn it back into liquid cash. That's one advantage you can get with vaulting facilities that allow that. You can move in and out of it pretty quickly, like within a couple days to a week, you can have it liquidated. Okay, now I just saw Puerto Rico jump up over here. So let's look at that too. So out of country, look, it all depends, right? Like you guys, if you're worried about an SHTF where the power goes out of the country for forever or for years, the only metals you're ever going to own are the ones that are in your possession. Okay. Everything else you can pretty much write off. You'll probably never see it again if electricity went out for 2 years, to be honest. And that's if you survive it. If you don't think we're going to have anything drastic like that, and everything's going to continue to function like it has for the last 50 years, then having it vaulted in multiple places is smart. If you've got a lot of it, you might want to spread it out a little bit, spread your risk out. I mean, what if I had to flee California because we had a massive earthquake here, right? Or my house burns down, or California decides it's going to be its own country and it closes the borders down and we have this big issue. You're not going to get gold and silver out of there very easily. So having it in other states can be helpful. So it's more extreme cases on that, or you have a lot of wealth and you're wanting to spread that out. Going into other jurisdictions, which is other countries, really comes down to more of a strategy with like a planner. And you're starting to get super sophisticated with stuff. That's usually reserved for the people that have tens of millions of dollars, and they're looking to kind of spread the risk out all over the place. And they usually have things like houses in other countries. And if you're interested in that, reach out to Francis Hunt with Market Sniper. Let him know Stacking Surfer sent you guys. I don't get anything from it, but at least maybe we get him back on the channel if he knows there was a referral. But that's one of the things he does. I think they started off for people that are typically $30 million net worth. So if you've got that might be something you're looking at. If you're below $30 million in net worth, I don't know that you really need to be thinking about going out of the country. So Rob thinks it's a back up the truck right now, in his opinion. It depends. It depends on what you're trying to do and what you want to get to. To me, I don't think it's there right now. If we go back down to $61, if we go down to 55, or if we break below the 45-year cup and handle, which we'd now have to reconfirm that thing. If we break down below and we close, I don't know, say on a weekly, we could have completely broken that pattern. If that happens and we get back down into 30, yes, that's a back up the truck thing. So it depends on where you think. Now, right now is a back up the truck. If we go to 3 to 500 on silver, then it's a back up the truck. But I can't tell you that's going to happen. So, you got to be careful with back up the truck things, because what that means to a lot of people is just start selling everything and buying as much as you can. Would I recommend selling your home and moving in with relatives so you can take all that money and buy silver right now because it's going to skyrocket? I don't know. It might not be worth your sanity to do that. All right. Love the hair. Well, my wife likes it too. So, yeah, once you have enough, trade the GSR. There's going to be GSR time, guys, to play. Silver Dragons last night was talking about how he played the GSR at 50. I didn't really actively play it too much at any level. It's just that when we do coin shows, we'll typically buy a bunch of metals and we'll also sell a decent amount. And with all the metals we buy, depending on what the GSR is, usually I'll take some gold, or I'll take some silver, more silver at that point. So I kind of play it more that way. I haven't done a lot of flipping of my stuff back and forth. If we get down to like a 30 ratio, I'm definitely flipping stuff. Am I flipping everything? No. I'm never going to flip everything. Who knows? Maybe we'll go to a 1-to-1, or down to a 12 or an 8 or a 7. So, you gotta think how you want to play those things. All right, let's see what else you got. Okay, Skate Army's got some good things. I'm not going to put them on the screen though. A smoking jacket. That would be funny. This is true. Okay, guys. So, you want to put things in a trust. Okay. I'm not going to get into all the details of that, but that is true. So technically, if my wife and I go on a trip and we die, my kids will inherit this house and it'll have a step up in basis. And technically all the metals will have a step up in basis. However, and they don't all have to necessarily be defined. The way that my trust is written, it kind of sucks everything into it. But that's if you want everything to be known. I don't know. I got to think about that a little bit. But yes, your step up in basis goes up. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yes, that's what it was. Okay, Yankees heading out to Yosemite. So I think that's later this year. So maybe he'll come say hi. I don't know. Nick never did. If you guys remember Nick. I mean, heck, I was at Yankee and Tim's like 5 times and she never showed up to those. I don't know, Nick, if you're watching this, but yeah, so where I live, our weather is the same as San Diego weather. We just have fewer taxes and our water's less expensive. Okay, so I'm going to go down a little faster here. Yeah, I know. Look, a guy can dream. I was born in California. This is my home state. This is where my parents were born. And you know, there's so much I love about it. There's a lot of stuff I don't. Now, here's the problem. I live in a perfect little bubble where I'm at. I would show you guys. It's beautiful right around here, but if I show you, then you can figure out exactly where I live. So I don't do that for privacy. But I live in a cool little place, and you would have no idea it's California. You'd have no idea there's, you know, crazy stuff around. I mean, we don't even have traffic here, and you can get everything you want. And it's a very conservative place. We did mask burning during the pandemic, like at the pier, literal mask burnings. And we had snipers on the roofs when the other parade was going in all the cities, and they were burning stuff here in California. But yes, at some point, I think we will probably move our main jurisdiction out of the state, probably to a state that does not have income tax. And then maybe we'll come out here. And the best time to be in Southern California is September and October. That's the best time to come surfing too, in my opinion, because the water's warmer. It's not always the best waves, but they're decent. And for me, I have a love-hate relationship with my wetsuits. Got a good one, but it's just I hate taking those things on and off. All right. Yeah, I mean, everybody's bailing on California because the laws are stupid here. The problem is they create regulations, and you guys all have to get subject to them. Now, if our governor runs for the country, for the presidency, and wins, you guys are all in trouble. So you got to fight that big time. There's nothing good there. Yeah, I would agree with that. It should be deleted from the union. Oh no. Don't tell OC Stacker that. He really likes it here. I don't think he's ever going to move. But yeah, Tennessee and Florida are kind of my two I would look at. Florida freaks me out a little bit with all the life is trying to kill you. But the weather is probably a little bit more like California there. I mean, it's more humid and hot, but let's see. Yeah, you're not gonna find a link because they cover this stuff up really well. It's just like I can tell you that go look into the 16th Amendment. It's not great how that whole thing got passed. Go look into the Federal Reserve, look into the IRS, income tax, all that stuff. Go look into what we did with tariffs in the past. You're going to find that there's a lot of information you guys don't really understand. I mean, who do you think owns State Street, BlackRock, and Vanguard? Go look up and find who owns those. Okay, go look at that stuff. I'm not going to go any further than that because then it will really screw up my channel. I talked about the white lines in the sky, and it's jacked up the algorithm big time. And we do have it here. It's not a conspiracy theory. They actually listed it in the website on when they're going to do it. So we just used the wrong terminology for it. But I don't need proof to show that there's major voter fraud going on in this country. If you really want to go look it up, go look and see where the voting machines come from. It's a country that recently was raided for its oil by a bunch of Black Hawk helicopters. Okay. So down in Venezuela, if you want to go look that up, there's a lot of fishy stuff around that. Now, here's the real issue. Okay. And we're jumping around because I'm a little bit behind on the comments, guys, but here's the real issue that people aren't understanding. The entire country is affected by what happens in California. If you have every conservative Christian move out of this state, the country's gone. Okay, so you better seal this place off. Here's what happens. Census is done based on people living in households, period. They don't have to be citizens. They could be visiting. It's when they get counted who's in your household at that moment. There's a lot of people in a lot of houses here in California, and therefore they get a lot of seats in Congress. And that throws off everything when it comes to the House. And if you guys don't understand that, I think that's something you need to really understand when it comes down to the politics. So forget whether the voting is rigged or not. The House is completely thrown off because of people that shouldn't be in the country. I'm all for immigration. You know, I do have some Native American ancestors. I've got some of that. So Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren is a cousin. I'm not really going to say that out loud though. But most of my heritage comes from England and Scotland, some in France and a little bit in Ireland, and then into Norway, and then into Germany. And when I look at that, just about everybody's an immigrant. Immigration's great when people assimilate. It's not great when they don't assimilate. It's not great when they come in temporarily and they send all their money to another place. Those are things that hurt the country. So I'm all for people coming in here that contribute, that work, that, as long as we have taxes, help take care of that. And, we got to fix things here in California. Good luck on going to the ER. It's going to take you have to get an ambulance if you want to get to the ER here, because everybody's treating it as their free doctor appointment. Nope. They are not mutually exclusive and they do not relate to each other. So it could happen, but no, $50,000 gold does not mean $20 gas. It could be $100 gas, could be $1,000 gas at that point. They're just completely different things. Gas is all going to be dependent on, supply chain stuff and can you get it? And then you have taxes that sit on top of it. So I wouldn't necessarily say that. The other thing to say is if we have $50,000 gold, it doesn't mean that a hamburger is going to cost, $500 either. So, just because things go up doesn't mean that. It's probably not empty, but it's probably not full with 8,300 tons. I'd be very surprised if it's completely empty, but it's possible. It may have been moved. And the stuff that's sitting in our vaults may not be ours. It might be other countries. It was from Rob. Okay, so that question I mentioned earlier was from Rob. All right, we're going to go down a little bit more because I'm getting behind. Yeah, I don't think it's empty, the Fort Knox. It probably doesn't have everything it needs to have. You got to remember, too, they melted all the pre-33 gold down, and including 33 gold, any of the ones that they had. That stuff is going to come out as 90% gold. It's not going to be the refined 999 bars. So that's also another issue that has to be done. So, technically we need to refine those bars for purity. No one ever really talks about how many of the 8,300 tons are pure gold versus an alloy. All right, we hit the voter fraud thing like that horse is so dead at this point. So it is not off your comment. It's kind of a thought off your comment here. Like the other thing to keep in mind, guys, like how much silver do you need? Like 10,000 ounces, 50,000 ounces, $100,000 ounces. How much silver does one person really need? And so it's always funny when people say, I'm going all silver. I'm really heavy in silver. Well, how much do you have? If you're talking like I'm going all silver and you have no gold and you think it's a big, massive number, and you want to play the ratio, I think it's great. But it takes up a lot more space. And so I know people that have 40,000 ounces of silver hanging around. I don't know where they put all that stuff. Surely you can't vault all that. That would be super expensive to vault that much silver. But people do that. At some point, you're probably going to want to flip that into gold so that it takes up less space. But at the same time, central banks have gold. And if anybody's ever going to take out the central banks, you got to take out the gold. I'm just throwing that out there. But I'm a gold bug first, silver second. But that's kind of what that makes me think about a little bit there. Let's see. Yeah, we don't have basements. But I'm trying to help them. It's super expensive around here and they're finishing up school. So that's part of what we've got to do. So I would agree with this. The older you get, the more gold you might want to consider having because it's less volatile than silver. The younger you are, the bigger risk you can take. So I would agree with that. But there's that word should too. Should doesn't work anymore. I would take that out of sentences everywhere because should means that there's a one way to do it and there's more than one way to do it. But for example, if you've got a 10,000 ounces of silver and we get to a $500 silver and the ratio is sitting at like 30 or 20, I think those are good times to be considered, play the ratio and starting to go back into and get some gold stuff. It takes up a lot less space. And, that can be a great game to play. If you're on the side where you think silver is the only thing that's going to be worth anything and gold's not going to be worth anything because it's not used for industrial purposes and all of that, just keep in mind that it's used for military too. And at some point, if there's not enough silver to go around, the government's going to come get it. And I don't mean just confiscation. I mean, they're going to need it, right? They're going to try to take it. It'll be that kind of stuff. So also don't wish for a crazy, it's nice when you have an asset that can go up, and it's also something that not everybody is all over. It keeps it off the radar from things like confiscation and stuff like that. Okay, let's see. Yeah, young kids aren't going to live here, so at some point we're probably we're probably going to do that. Puerto Rico, I don't know. I got to go out and visit that place. I've seen it get destroyed by hurricanes. But Puerto Rico is a really good place to go to protect your wealth and to avoid taxes. Sorry, to disappear taxes, because you can't. Avoiding taxes is like a bad word. So it very well could. You guys, if you're in mining stocks, just know that we could see it drop quite a bit. So you need to put in like stop losses if you're concerned about that. That's something I probably need to set up this weekend on some of them. And the reality is things could go lower. They could sit there for a while, then they could go up a lot higher, but take some time to get there. You are risking a little bit more with mining stocks. There's also the great taking, things like that to kind of think through. Okay. What happens if the silver reaches 200 and the coin shops stop or start closing down, and how would one sell their silver if they had to? Okay, so let's hit this a little bit for a second. I think this is an important one to hit. The average age of someone that runs a coin shop to me looks like someone that's about to retire. Okay, I don't know the actual age, but a lot of people that are running coin shops to me look like they're probably pretty close to 65, maybe even older than that. So I think nationally, we're going to see a lot of coin shops close down, just like you're going to see a lot of florists close down. Okay, that's kind of another business that you might see like that. That's kind of getting really aged with people that own it. And there's a lot of young people that don't necessarily want to take it over. So here's what I would say to that. We will probably see a decline in coin shops for a while. And I think that's going to happen because people are just going to close up their shops and be done, and there's not a person to take it over. I don't think coin shops are going away. I do think at some point, if we are allowed to own gold and silver, and it can be used as a side currency to stable coins, CBDC, stable coin stuff, then I think coin shops will actually end up kind of becoming banks. That's my hypothesis. They'll kind of merge between banks and coin shops. They'll work symbiotically at some point. That's if it's all allowed to continue to operate the way it is. Maybe it'll only be collectibles. Maybe it'll be everything. I don't know. But to that point, coin shops can close, and then where do you sell it back to? Well, first off, one of the rules I always say when you're dealing with any kind of an asset that you're going to buy is you need to understand your exit strategy from the beginning before you make the purchase. And if you only have one exit strategy, don't buy that asset. Okay, that's where my concerns are for things like rhodium and palladium. I think I've got 1 ounce and 2 grams of palladium now. That's probably all I need. It's just kind of fun to have another little metal I can show it when I have them. But I probably wouldn't go crazy with that. Platinum, you can go a little bit crazier with it. There's more places that'll take it. But gold and silver are going to be your strongest places. So one thing to mitigate this is to diversify your stack by having different kinds of silver and gold, so that if constitutional or junk silver has a very poor resale value right now, it has a huge discount to selling it, don't sell that stuff. If bars all of a sudden have a higher premium, that's the stuff you sell at that time. So look at the spreads on that too. But you got to find multiple places to sell to. So I recommend getting relationships with companies like AppMex and SD Bullion and JM Bullion is just 3Dimension. There's a lot of them out there. Have accounts with them so you can understand how their buyback process works. Find the coin shows that are going on near you. Find a couple local LCSs that you can potentially go to. And, that's what you've got to do. And then get to know people in the community here that might be willing to buy stuff from you too. Be careful with sharing your information with people though. Always meet in public. Okay, now that's not even funny, but that would be pretty sick. If I come out here one of these days with an afro looking like Bob Ross, I've made it on YouTube big time. All right, I'm going to try to catch up here. Yeah, if I get my wife to do it, I would totally do it, but I have to look up the surfing in Puerto Rico. I don't know too much about that there. That's one of the hardest things for living in California too, is if I go to like Tennessee or Tennessee is a little harder. North Carolina does have some surfing, but I think you got to be in some pretty gnarly storms to get the good waves. But hey, you know what? I'd be willing to move out of state, landlocked, and save a ton of money, and then go to Hawaii for a month in the winter, go surf and do that. Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to say good or bad things about certain safe companies. I know some people have said Liberty is one that they wish they didn't have because of stuff, but I don't know if that's just a Liberty issue. I think that might be more systemic than just Liberty. So it's probably not a bad idea to change the combination after you get the safe. Ask them if they've got like a backup code or whatever. The key is you want one that's security rated or TL rated. So a 900, any safes that are from Costco are not TL rated, and they're usually not security rated. So they can be fine to put some jewelry in. They can be fine to put some cash in there. And maybe some metals. But if you're putting a lot of metals in there, a lot of those safes can be easier to get into. You got to bolt them down, put them up in a corner so that they can only get to like and below a cabinet or something, so they can only get to like one wall. No one in their right mind is going into the front door of a safe and trying to crack it. That's where they're strongest. But you can do that. Gun safes can be good too if you can. Gun safes can be good if it's safety rated. Okay, there are some that do that. Outside of that, gun safes are usually not secure enough for precious metals. And a bunch of you probably have gun safes, and you might be like, oh my gosh, my safe's not good enough. It depends on where you guys live and what your risk is, right? If you live in an area where they've been robbing houses, it's not good enough. If you live in an area where the only person coming on your property is a plumber every once in a while, and it would take someone more than 15 minutes to find the safe, you're probably okay. Not financial advice on a safe, but that's kind of been my experience with stuff. Don't freak out over it. Don't overthink it. There's always good, better, and best. So you start with good, move on to better, move on to best. And you guys will figure that out. Surf parks would be cool. Yeah, that's true. We go build a surf park maybe. So $500 silver is far-fetched. I think silver is plentiful. Its price will drop back to $50 or below. Dude, it's possible. You got to look at how things work in the market. If all the central banks decided they didn't want gold anymore and they flooded the market, maybe gold goes back to $50 or $20. I don't know. It could be crazy bad if that happens. Silver. The reason silver has such a high demand and we have a deficit right now is because there's not enough of it being pulled out of the ground because they don't have dedicated silver mines in very many places. There's very few of those, and it's coming out of copper mines. If we have a decade of silver prices continually going up, and we have a silver floor that's put on at, say, 75 or 100 or 150 bucks by the US government, it's going to be enough to incentivize people to go and build silver mines. And if you get enough silver mines built, there'll be enough supply. And then eventually what's going to happen is there'll be more supply than there is demand, and the price goes back down. The other issue you got to look at is price is kind of irrelevant when you start looking at things like inflation, right? So if there's a bunch of inflation that's going on, then it really doesn't matter what the price is, right? Like if we go into hyperinflation and it starts looking like Weimar Republic, we're going to get into a situation where you're going to have like $10,000 silver. So it really comes down to purchase power is the more relevant thing to look at. But gold maple, it's possible, man. I don't know. Maybe we won't hit that high, but something in my gut kind of has this number of $500 to $1,000 silver and $20,000 gold. I don't know if we're going to hit it for sure, but those are kind of numbers that I can see from all the charts I've looked at. It's possible. Anything above 500 in silver starts pushing the boundary above what we've seen in the past. So it's not impossible to have that happen, but we're now starting to see something new happen than what's happened in the past. It's also not guaranteed we're going to hit that. I get that. And you probably should have protection if you're going to be doing this stuff. It's just that not all safes are created equal. Some of them can be opened with magnets very quickly. Others can be opened with crowbars pretty easily. I recommend having a safe that's steel, concrete, and steel in every wall and every surface in it. That's how you're going to get into a safety rating. And then after that, when you start getting into TL15 and TL30s, that's where they start putting like crossbars of steel in, and then they put bits of what do they put in there? Forget what else they put in there. They put some other pretty dense metals in there to where it rips up the diamond bits and it starts to break them. And so it can take a very long time to go. And remember, whatever wall is facing the air where someone could drill into it, you don't want to have your metals right up against that wall, okay, in case something like that happens. Also put them in boxes, like put things in monster boxes, put them in guardhouse boxes. It's going to be much harder for someone to drill a little hole in there, put their hand in, and they're not going to pull out a guardhouse box. They're going to have to go drill a big, massive hole, which could take them a very long time to put in there. And then have cameras near the room, maybe not pointing right at the safe, but have them in the room so you can, monitor stuff. Have alarms on your house and your property, have dogs, all that stuff's going to help. All right. We're getting way behind here. More than one safe is always good too. Let's see. Yeah, it comes in a couple ways for brain fog, just as a quick announcement for people here. One is part of it's a lack of sleep, too much going on. The other part of it is just brain inflammation, things like that can happen too. So, make sure you get your sleep, guys. That's going to be the best thing to help you avoid dementia and things like that too. I will at some point trade more of my silver in for gold. I'm a big gold guy. That's what I like the most. So for me, silver is a means to an ends, as well as some really cool collectible stuff they don't do in gold. So, you also don't necessarily need to have a massive safe, guys, too. If you are storing more of your wealth in gold, you can get a smaller safe. And it depends on what you have and how expensive it is, right? You can have a safe that's really good, secure, it's smaller. And you put your most expensive stuff in there and you have another safe that's not quite as expensive. All right, let's see what we got here. Yeah, 15 to 1 is a good ratio. 7 to 1 is another one. 20 to 1 is another one that's been out there. 25 to 1 has been out there. So, they're all possible. I mean, there are people on YouTube that have much bigger channels than me that have said it might even go the opposite direction, where it's like 10 gold coins for 1 silver coin. I don't understand that world. If we're in a world like that, everything's gone upside down and backwards. Like, I don't think there's enough possible demand industrially for something like that to happen, unless it's like something everybody has to have, and silver's the only thing that can make it possible, period. Short of that, I don't see it reversing like that. Unless all the central banks dumped all their gold at one time. That'd be interesting. Yep, I agree with this. Do not touch platinum or palladium until you have hit your goals for gold and silver. And if you can never hit your goals, then you're I don't know what you're doing. I guess you're just buying all the time. I've always set goals and I hit them, and then I do something different after that. Once I've hit those goals, then it's not just like my deep stack to take care of, financial stuff. It's now becoming more of an investment. That's where I start getting into mining stocks, or I start getting into real estate or other things. Yeah, so I do irrevocable living trusts. There's more protection with them than revocable living trusts. And there's a way to create them so that you can be creative with funding and stuff. A lot of people are hot on copper. I don't really care too much about copper. If you guys want to play with that, I'd stay away from the physical metals. It's just copper doesn't have enough value to make it worth storing it in bulk. You can probably play some of the mining stocks. You can probably play futures a little bit, but I don't know if maybe there's copper ETFs. I think there's a couple of copper ETFs that are out there, so you could play that stuff, guys. But in copper will most likely go up, just like uranium and a lot of other commodities. I think we're going into this big commodity super cycle. The bigger problem you're going to run into with copper, though, guys, is it's not a monetary metal. It's never, as far as I know, been used heavily. It's been used in pennies, right? It's been used as a combined alloy, but it's never really been seen as a big, major monetary metal. It's not what a system's been based on. Most of them have been gold. A couple of them have been silver. So I'd be very careful with going too heavy on the copper play, unless you really know what you're doing. Rob wants me to move to Puerto Rico or somewhere else. Okay, we're going to go down a little further here because I'm way behind. Okay, let's go down. Because what ends up happening is I talk about something in the past, and you guys start about writing it now in the future, and then it gets way off. Texas could be good too, but it kind of freaks me out. We almost moved to Houston. We had a house that had the roof on, and they were putting the stucco and brick and everything on the outside. And then my sister-in-law got divorced, and we had no reason to be in Houston. So then we were able to get out of the house, and then it got hit by a hurricane the next year pretty bad. Like, that whole community was just north of Wood Forest is where we were looking. Wood Forest. It was north of the Woodlands. But, the thing that kind of freaks me out with Texas is they're building a lot of data centers out there. They're not building any data centers around here because there's no land to build on. But those data centers concern me in a lot of ways. They're doing a lot of that out in West Texas. And then you get too far north, I get worried about all the tornadoes and the freeze that you can get. But I think Texas is a good state, though. All right, let's see. This thing is like way off. Okay, we're going to back up just a little bit. So the Humble Stacker is a new member. Welcome, Humble. Good to have you. You guys check out his channel if you haven't. I don't know if I have any mods in here right now. But Humble, go ahead and put your channel link in there too so people can find it. He does a lot of cool lives. I like to jump in there and have some good chats with them. It's kind of like the only channel that's going late at night when I'm getting ready to go to bed and I'm bored and I want to say hi to people. Okay, now this you could do. Just you got to be strong enough to be able to get it back out. So if you're going to go full John Wick on your stack, make sure you got a way to get it up. You know, I saw a video, and I don't know if this was real or just planted, but they were like knocking down a foundation, and there was a retaining wall. And when they hit the retaining wall, gold coins just came out of it like crazy. Someone had put them all on the wall. You know, when they find these hordes of coins, that's someone that did the John Wick thing in some form or fashion. I don't recommend doing midnight gardening unless people are coming for it. Then you might want to do that. But anytime you put it in a really good hiding place, somewhere that's not very obvious, that if you were to die, someone's not going to find it, you're running the risk of, you know, giving it to the next person that comes along. So just be careful with that. Well, I do wonder about this. It'll be interesting to see what happens if we go into full Weimar Republic level inflation. Precious metals better be well hidden because criminals and governments will be coming for them. So yes and no. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens if we go. One, I don't think we're going to go into that mode. I think we reset the currency before we get to where, you know, you're taking in $1 billion or $1 trillion into the grocery store to buy a loaf of bread. So I don't think we quite get to that point. I'd be very surprised if we got to the point where we had, you know, inflation like Venezuela, where you're having to get paid 2 or 3 times a day just so that you can keep up with the inflation rate. You know, I don't think we're going to get that. But if we were to get there, yes, you're going to have something that's highly valuable. I mean, look at me. This is probably the biggest risk of showing my face on this stuff is, you know, can I go out I probably can't go out in public at that point. So it's just not safe for me to even go anywhere. I'm going to have like people running stuff for me. But the reality is you'll find people that will be willing to buy and sell and trade and do things. You'll be able to do it. You just have to be safer about it. You might have to pack when you're doing it. But, you know, the big key is to not let people know how much you have, and it would be to not put it all in the same place. So you might want to spread that out a little bit. Yeah, I'm allergic to those puppies, so I can't do that either, but that might help. Yeah, so you guys can look at this stuff too. This is a good point. We're all getting poorer in our house compared to gold. It was really bad in January. And so, you know, I look at that too. That's one of my biggest concerns is here in California, your overall wealth, a very high percentage of that is usually in a single family home that you own. And so, you know, if you're going to play the whole Robert Kiyosaki thing and say that the house you own is not an asset, it's a liability. A lot of people here in California don't have wealth because all their money's in their house. And so that is something to be kind of mindful of. But you got to have a place to live. And I prefer owning the home when you're raising your kids. After that, it kind of depends on how much you want to do with your own stuff. But you know, you got to kind of think through that a little bit. I mean, there's nothing like having your own property that's there, but you know, the problem is you still have property taxes. What if you can't pay those? So you got to be careful with that. So this can be a good strategy too. You know, one thing that is good for rare coins is when prices go down, like when the spot price drops a lot, those prices don't really drop that much. They kind of hold their value a little bit more. When prices are going up, though, they don't appreciate as fast as like your regular bullion does. I still think you're going to get your more rare coins will have another time where they'll be worth more in the future with values going up. But it might take some time with it. The key is to buy what you understand and what you know and what you're comfortable with. Okay. Be careful just playing the trends all the time and going, okay, I need to sell all of this or sell all of that, or I'm going to be only one metal. You know, diversity Usually didn't kill anybody. It also doesn't make you rich. You usually get rich by knowing one asset really well and concentrating on that and building around that and building a business around that. So keep that in mind. And then you diversify as you get older and you're in retirement so that you don't get taken out by any risks. Okay, let's do this real quick. So West Texas Stacker says, don't fall for the copper hype. The only copper I have is what I bought from the Wounded Warrior Project as a donation for people and stuff. Yeah, so these are the rules for playing the ratio, guys. There's not really a particular number there. A lot of people will say anything over 80, buy silver, sell your gold into silver. They'll say anytime you're below, say 50, go from silver to gold. It's not like a science. It's more of an art, because what if the ratio goes down to 12? Yeah, you should have held on to your silver longer, right? So, we don't know what the ratio is going to be in the future for sure. So you gotta watch out for that. All right, let's see. So there you go. SD Blaine sent a copper coin for Christmas. Well, that's cool. I mean, I'll take it if people give it to me, but I wouldn't go out and buy like a 100-ounce bar of copper and start stacking those thinking that copper is going to become the new silver. I don't think that. I don't buy into that. Silver is way better than copper in just about every application where you can use the two of them. And I don't see us getting to the point where they're just going to switch everything over to copper, even if we're at hundreds of dollars silver. No, I got good kids. So my kids aren't bad. They're good. All right, let's see what else we got in here. Let's see what else you guys have. Yeah, you're welcome, Humble. That's weird to find a fake gold coin in the wall of a house. But it does happen. Okay, I'm going to see in a second. I've got Chef Stacker LA. Go check him out too, guys. He hasn't put anything out recently, but I think he needs to have a few more late nights again. Those were fun to go hang out with. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Well, here's what I'll tell you. Last time I was doing anything with Bitcoin, Gareth Soloway, he also said it was going to like $6,000 Bitcoin. That never happened. It went to 120,000. So charting guys are right a lot of times, and a lot of times they're wrong. He's pretty good, but I call him Ponytail Boy after that because I wasn't very happy about that. I sold my Bitcoin and I didn't buy it back. Probably for the better, though. I put it all into gold and silver. I'm not a big fan of Bitcoin for a lot of reasons, but that doesn't mean it's not going to go up and it couldn't be good. I think he's got a little better line on cryptocurrencies than he does have on gold and silver. I trust Michael Oliver more than him. The only thing I question with Michael Oliver is the timing. I'm hoping to interview him before we hit those numbers, and I'd like to understand a little bit better why he thinks that timing's going to hit there. The other day, I was watching an interview and he was kind of talking down on the whole COMEX being that big of a deal. So I'm curious to see what else he's thinking on. So I don't dislike Gareth Soloway. I was just very disappointed in that call that was way off. So people can make calls. I can make, I'm not making a call based on massive science. That I've just come up with on my own. I'm making a call based on a lot of charts I'm looking at and a lot of different practitioners like these guys and kind of where I'm seeing the possibility is I haven't called a specific date. I'm not saying on December 31st it's going to be this number. I just think we could see a high of, let's say, $180 to $200 on silver this year. I'd be surprised if it goes higher. And if we're below 100, I'd also be very surprised if we close the year out, meaning we've already hit the high for the year. I would be surprised if that's where it went and it didn't go any higher again. But as far as charting guys go, check out charting guys, find the ones you like the most, and learn why they're coming up with their predictions and why they're coming up with their thoughts about that. And know someone can tweet about it or put out an X post and kill the entire premise of it very quickly. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to push down a little further again. Yeah, and I got really good kids. I'm happy that my girls are back home for right now because I'm not ready to really let them go yet. We all do have health issues, though. That's one of the things we got to work through. Yeah, there you go. So market's still pretty good on gray sheet for stuff. So I think that's important. All right, let's see. Well, here's the crazy thing. Where I live, half the homes are paid for in cash. But a lot of those people are moving down from the Bay Area. That's changing dynamics too. So I don't know what the future is going to look like. And with all the layoffs that are going to go on in Silicon Valley, I don't know that that's going to stay up for very long. So you could see some issues with that. But I will tell you, if housing prices drop a lot, there's still a lot of people that would love to live by the beach. There's a lot of conservatives that are in California too. There's more conservatives in California than like the entire Mountain West states population. So, there's a lot of that. If you guys haven't done so yet, hit the thumbs up. That'll get some more people watching here. I think we'll just go a few more minutes here. I still have to finish some work report for my boss I got to send out. All right, let's see what else you got having here. Copper fetishes, huh? That's funny. All right, now you guys are getting a little crazy. Now I know the mods aren't in here. So keep it clean. Keep it clean and cryptic. All right, that's good. So do that, guys. All right, let's do this. I'm going to shift it a little bit. I want to talk briefly about 4 videos that I'm working on right now. So this is going to be for members only. So we have a new member in here, Brett. Welcome. Look, here's the deal, guys. I'm hoping to get this channel to a point, as well as working on some other business ideas, to where I can go more full time in this direction at some point. I've got a good job, work for a good company, but my modus operandi is to do my own thing. And for me, every one of these little things helps, but it's really about building more of a system to help you guys out. So I'm going to be working on a few things that are going to be for the members to really help you guys with your stacks, to make it easier to buy and sell, get better prices for metals, keep track of it, all of these different things. I've been working on these ideas for 4 years in my head. Almost launched them in the past, and now we're going to try to work on them again. So I don't want to overpromise until I get it done, but I want to provide you guys with more tools with it. Okay. And a lot of that's going to come in through the membership stuff. That'll help provide for my family a little bit, plus help you guys be able to do better at your stacks. 4 videos that I'm working on right now. One of them I'm going to be filming tomorrow, shooting it tomorrow because I don't use film. Had someone just freak out on me about that. That was crazy. My hydroponics over here. So it's kind of dark, and I don't know if I get my other phone to really work out at this moment, but I've got a hydroponics setup I want to show you guys. And so far it looks like it's going good. It's only 1 day in, but none of the plants have died. So at least they're getting water. I don't know if I put too much fertilizer in there or not, but I'm going to do a video on hydroponics. How can you build that? How can you do that? The next one's going to be on solar power backup generators. How can you use those? What can those do for you? Third one's going to be on how to make 30-year long lasting food storage. And the fourth one's going to be how do you secure your water and keep it clean for 5 years. So I'm not putting those on the channel because people don't like it and they just end up subscribing in droves. I've already lost 80 people this month with no growth. So that's what happens when you slow down a little bit. YouTube penalizes you, as well as probably other things I said on the live stream. But I'm going to put those as member only. In addition to that, we're going to do, I'll probably be doing a couple other beach videos where we'll be talking about what I think's going on. So we're going to have probably about 2 member only videos a month. We're going to have member only live streams. And then we're going to start scaling it back up a little bit on the calls. On different levels. And then we've got one-to-one mentoring for you guys to help you with it. So really that's there to help support you where I can. I'm going to be working on a couple sheets to help you guys keep track of your finances. There's a few things I'm working on. It's finding the time to do all this stuff. But I've had to pull back a little bit to get my house in order a little bit because I kind of neglected all my emergency preparedness for 3 years doing this YouTube channel. This has taken just about every waking moment I have, unless I'm out with the kids. So look for that stuff. That's coming. And then the other thing I have is I've got a video that will be coming out with Sigma Metalytics, talking about their company and everything that goes on. We've got another video that'll be coming out from John Eric with Gorilla Pro Customs that does those really cool metal boxes. We're going to be doing another video from Tangible Investments next week that we're going to go into the 13 Caesars. I think it's going to be a pretty cool video. It explains a lot about the gold and silver coins from the Roman Empire, which is pretty cool. So if any of you guys are Christian, we're going to be showing some coins that would have been used during Jesus's time when he was walking the earth. And we get into some of that history, which is pretty cool. So I think that's going to be a fun video. And then outside of that, we're going to continue to get more interviews. I'm in the process of getting North Star Bad Chart guys back on. We're going to have Andy Scheckman on in May. Lynette Zhang again out in May. And with Lynette, we're going to do something fun, which is different than she's done with anybody else. We're going to do some evergreen videos with part of it having a commentary around what's going on currently. And that way it'll let me to kind of still be relevant to everybody, even in the future. But we're going to work on some cool stuff there. So if you guys have some ideas, you've got some thoughts that you want to share, send me an email with those, and we'll try to go through that. We had a couple other people jump on here for memberships, so thank you guys for that. I think I'd put Brett down already. I've already given out the free ones I can give out right now, and then welcome. OLY Stacker. Oily Stacker? I don't know. I'm going to slaughter that. But it's fun. It's a good way to go. We're going to do some fun things with it. I think Michael and Nancy Stacking on here, I think he might be my first and oldest member. So he's been on for a long time. So thank you. And I got to send him out some more stickers and magnets and stuff. So, you know, the last thing I'll just throw out to you guys is so much of this comes down to community. And if you guys are worried about SHTF stuff, know other people in your area that have similar beliefs and thoughts that you can get with and have plans of what to do if something happens. Keep your family safe. Prepare, but don't overdo it. You know, I'd hate to hear that someone didn't take a family vacation where they could build memories because they were so freaked out they put all their money into silver or copper or gold or something else. Or if you know, you have to eat top ramen because you're buying all this 30-year food storage. You know, don't go crazy in mess up your life over trying to overly prepare for stuff because you have anxiety around it. Take a step at a time. You don't need to go and get a year's worth of food overnight. Build it up over time. And you only need that much if things go really bad, you know. And if you don't know how to plant food, then it doesn't really matter. You're not going to replace your food in a year. If there's no food to be had for a year, there's probably no food to be had for 2 years unless you know how to grow it. So, you know, don't overdo this stuff. Don't get yourself into debt over all of this stuff. And it's okay if you're just starting. You don't have a lot of silver or a lot of gold. Get what you can, hold on to it, learn how to secure it, keep it quiet. Don't be telling a lot of people what you have. I don't show a full stack video, even though Yankee's like, you should do one. And I had a few other people asking me to do it. One, my wife said no. So if I do it, I'll probably wake up bald or with a ponytail or something, or Bob Ross hair. But for me, I think it's a safety thing. It's just not something I want to show. It's also a pain in the butt to gather it all up in one place and do it and then have to take it back to other places and stuff. So I don't like that. But you know, it's okay to tab a coin with you, to share with people, for me to show this ring and say, hey, this was a silver dollar back in the day. And it's worth, I don't know, this is probably worth $50 on my hand, because it's not all the silver. But you know, it's okay to share things. You just don't want to overshare. And you know, the last thing I would say is thank you guys for coming on and leaving comments and participating, because that's what makes a big difference here. It's building the community out of this. And hopefully you guys are finding it helpful. So I'm going to do 2 more questions. Let's do 2 more questions. Let's see what questions you guys have. I'm at the very bottom here. We'll do 2 more questions. David only eats meat. Well, I occasionally like vegetables and fruit, though. I'd rest your comments from earlier. Meat's always good, though. Okay, so this won't count as one of the questions, but I'll answer it. So what I'm trying to do right now, and it's just hard getting it all scheduled. I'm hoping to have one interview a week. And then I'd like to have one long form video a week that I put out, and then one live stream. And right now we're doing the live streams on Friday nights. So they're usually going to be around 6:00 p.m. Pacific time. I might change dates. I might do that stuff too. You know, I can invite other people on. Sometimes it's easy to get people to come on. Other times it's hard. This is hard for me to just do a live stream this way, because I feel like I'm just talking to myself. That's why we're starting to do a lot of questions and kind of go through it. Otherwise, I feel like I'm talking to myself. However, I can walk on the beach and record a video and not feel that way. It's kind of weird. But I do like bringing people on for guests to do live streams. So we do that from time to time, and it's fun. The only problem I run into with it is some of the people I bring on, they dominate the entire conversation. So there's not really, we don't even answer a lot of questions you guys have, and we don't really get to something. And I guess I kind of do that on my own too. So it's kind of finding a good mix of you know, bringing different people on and getting different styles of stuff. I'm having a harder time keeping all of my my mods on too. So we've had a lot of scheduling issues recently with mods, and it can get a little dicey on here when you start getting over 50 people on a live stream without the mods. So we may be looking for a couple more mods if you guys have interest in that as well. Let's see. I have to. Well, thank you for coming out. So Alan Greenspan, Satoshi Greenspan always has the best stuff on here too. I like it. It's fun. All right, let's see what else you guys have. So I'm looking for 2 more questions on here that are relevant to the subject stuff. We can hit the last 2. All right, there's 241 people in here, and we have 120. So that's interesting. 120 of you guys are on YouTube, and we've got So that would put us at, that's almost even, about another 120 people on X watching. So I usually don't put it on X. So that's kind of cool. I don't even know how, I don't know if X people's comments are coming on here. I think they are. If you guys are watching, you're on X, do a test comment. I want to see if it comes up here with, instead of a YouTube symbol, it shows X. But we can make sure we get your questions answered too. Okay, let me see what else you guys have question-wise real quick. I have not been able to get a hold of Ed Steer. I haven't even been able to reach out to him yet. But if you guys have people you'd like me to interview, I have a little bit of a different interview style. I kind of approach it as a guy that has a good size stack. And so I'm asking mostly questions that I think are important to people that are stackers. A lot of people that are out there interviewing these guys are journalists. And so they're really just looking for sound bites, or they're looking to get a person to confirm something with them that they have a hypothesis on. For me, I'm just a guy that's got a lot of questions about certain things that I feel like don't get answered. And so I try to ask that. So if you'd like me to bring someone on, email me, stackingsurfer@gmail.com. In the title, put interview. And then what's helpful for me is if you've got an email for the person you want me to interview, if you've got a link to their website, or if you know that they're on X or Instagram, and they and you've got a link to that, I've got to find a way to reach out to them. I've got a good rapport with Lynette Zhang and Andy Scheckman. So if you see anybody that they've interviewed that you'd like me to have on, let me know. And I can always ask for referral. That's how I got Bill Holter on, and that's how I got David Morgan on. So I hit it off pretty well with David Morgan. We'll probably have him back on as well. I'd love to get Michael Oliver on here. I've got a whole list of people that I'd love to come on and interview, but it's a little bit of a tricky thing. Channels usually have to go one way or the other. I'm kind of straddling two areas, right? So I'm straddling almost since December, when we had the explosion, doing a lot of growth on all the YouTube channels. I started really doing heavily in interviews. And so half of my channel growth is really people that are wanting interviews. So I kind of have to keep those going for those people. And the original people are probably wondering, why are you not at the beach? Why are you not walking the beach with your camera again and doing, videos and sharing a couple of those things? Or showing off coins or certain things like that. It's really hard to do both of those at the same time and keep a good audience going. So, we'll try to figure out a whole mix on that. If I were doing this more full time, I'd probably have a daily update on what the markets are doing and showing you guys charts and, having all that figured out. But then it's a different channel all of a sudden too. So anyway, I want to hear from you guys. Those of you that are on the live stream, it really comes down to the people that come into the live stream are usually the ones that have more of the say and, care about certain things too. So I want to make sure we address that for you guys too. Josh Fair from Scottsdale would be awesome. I have no idea how to get a hold of him besides, well, I think Yankee's probably the only one that could potentially get in there, but I don't even know if he's had him on. Yeah, shoot me a list of people. We'll try to get into as many as we can. Andy's coming back on. The problem with Andy right now is he's got a lot going on. We've got, I think it's gonna be pretty busy going up to July. There's times where Andy can come on and I'm flying on an airplane. So, we have those conflicts. I'm going to try to get Andy on at least once a month. Same with Lynette Zhang. Andy may come on every other week. Is how we've got it scheduled, but sometimes we miss it. And then sometimes it ends up being like 2 months because the schedules are just way off. Eric Young and Kevin and Patrick from North Star Bad Charts. I'm trying to get those guys on a pretty regular basis too. I haven't reached back out to a few of those other guys, but they came on, but we'll try to get them on. The only one that said no is Don Durrett. He just said he's too slammed and busy to come back on. And I screwed up. I missed the appointment. And so I think he wasn't happy with that. I don't even know how I guess I missed it because I was looking at the wrong week on the calendar. Never done that before, and so I didn't see that there was anything going on, and I was busy with work stuff. And so anyway, I stood him up, which is not good, and apologized for it. But he asked to not come back on again. Maybe he'll warm up to that again in the future. I think we did an awesome video. I think it's one of the best videos he's ever been on and done, and it's very comprehensive on mining stocks. So I'd go check that out if you guys care about mining stocks. All right, let me see the 2 questions in here real quick because I just went off on other stuff. It's all good. I like my steaks. I'm a big steak guy too. Let's see. Okay, that might be why some of the comments aren't showing up. Also on X, I might be you guys may be rotating a lot. So if you're on X, follow StackingSurfer there. There's a lot of good posts I put out. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. If you have not subscribed, consider subscribing. Why do you do that? Well, you subscribe so that it shows up in your feed more. Okay. And why do you do that? Because I'm going to have cool people we interview. We'll have good conversations and topics like this. I mean, I need to go back and look at how much silver I've given away, but in gold. But I've given away thousands of dollars of gold and silver. I don't know if it's as high as $10,000, but we've done a lot of it on the channel to get to these numbers. It's one of the ways I tried to market is giving you guys a bunch of free stuff. The problem is it's a pain in the butt for me to mail it out. I just don't have. I still have medical bills that are 3 months old. I need to go pay tomorrow. And it's not that I don't have the money. It's that I don't want to pay a dumb bill. And it just piles up, and there's just a lot. There's a lot going on. I'm basically running two jobs, right? And it takes a lot out of you. And then I got health issues, so you got to deal with that. Okay, let's see what you got here. Okay, that's just a comment. I'll agree with that. Everybody's wealth and everything else is more. The definition that I've seen as being wealthy, I think, is you have to have $35 million in net worth. Anything below that, you're not wealthy. And then I've seen another indicator that says you need to have 5 million in liquid assets. So cash, stocks, bonds, gold, and silver to be considered wealthy. Whatever, that's just some definition they've got out there for you. If you've got good health and you've got people that love you and care about you, and you're able to support yourself in a job that or a business that you own that is not that you enjoy doing, I would call that wealthy. So Sal's come on one time before with Nick. So we could get Sal on again. Yankees told me he'll do a collab video together. So we'll do something like that soon. I just need to get back with him. I know he was on vacation and traveling. Silver Dragon's one that I think he knows who I am a little bit from Yankee. I mean, I bought a lot of pours from that guy back in the day, and he also made 2 silver surfboards that I plan on giving away, at least one of them at the 100,000 subscriber mark when we get there. So we have those. International Stacker is going to be coming on soon, hopefully. I'm hoping to go on his pretty soon too. So I think we will get those ones set up. Let's see. See what else you guys had in here. That's also a hard question to answer because subscribers don't necessarily equate revenue. So for me to go full time though, from what I've seen from other people, you're probably, if I stay here in California, I've probably got to have 150,000 subscribers, something like that, to probably do it, which is not close to where I'm at now. If I live in another state, I can probably do less. But it's not just about subscribers. It's about building kind of an ecosystem business around it, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking to do is what other things can I offer that bring more people in, that help the community more, and extra things that are out there that provide value. So a lot of people will go do auctions, they'll sell things on Whatnot, other stuff like that. I always buy too much crap when I'm playing around with Whatnot. It just it's too fast, and you don't realize how fast you've spent stuff. So I'm not sure. I'd probably say 100,000 would probably get me there, but it has to be solid 100,000, meaning like we have a solid 26,000 right now. And then it depends on how YouTube goes. Like right now, my the revenue coming in off ads on YouTube has cut in half every month. So in December it was high, it cut in half in January, cut in half in February, cut in half in March, and it cut in half again in April. And if we keep going, May, June, I mean, it's not even going to be enough money for them to pay out. So it's kind of hard how to judge on that. There's some people that'll pay sponsors and stuff. 50,000 subscribers kind of get you a sponsor spot. So that would definitely help and make it easier. But part of this is finding more consistency in message and, what you guys are liking and wanting to do. Yeah, so I understand a lot of charts. I've paid for the dumb trading view for 2 years now, and I still haven't had the time to go in and really learn how to use that software. But if I really look at my goal with this channel, where I want to take it, is I want this to be a channel where it helps you guys with stacking and investing and trading. And it needs to have a pretty good mix of everything. And it's focused on precious metals, but more so it's focused on sound money, and it's focused on becoming financially independent. When we get to a point where, I hope we get to a point where not everything's stable coins, and we get to a point where gold and silver is still good, and gold is just way outpaced real estate to the point where it makes sense to take some gold and buy real estate and create more cash flow. I mean, that's one of my favorite investments, is to do that. Pretty much, if you've got a business in real estate, you can travel anywhere in the world, check places out, consider buying them, and you get to write all that stuff off. I mean, there's some nuances to it and everything, but it's one of the few businesses you can be in where you can do that. Now, coin shops, you could kind of do the same thing to a degree. The heck is that? There's like some bats flying over my head. So, that's another thing to kind of be looking at. But charts is something that I do plan on getting a little bit more savvy on in dealing with. I watch a lot of other people that do that. And then gauze is something I definitely want to be doing, but I've got to find a way to get those, like get someone else to send them out, unless I'm going full time. I'm not sure what that means, Rob. You're going to have to rephrase that. That's another good definition of wealthy too. When your cash flow is outpacing your spending. So, anything can happen, but to me, financial independence means that you get to decide whether you work or not and what you do. You don't have to work a job. You're not stuck working for someone. You don't feel like if you lose your job, you're screwed. It's good to put money away. It's good to have money growing. It's good to invest. So one of the things I would also define wealth differences, when you get to the point where you no longer have to make payments for any kind of financing. and now your investments are paying you, and you're now the bank. You got an apartment, whatever else you may have out there. If you have real estate that's generating enough income plus your job that you can put money into precious metals and let other people pay your mortgage for you, I'd say you're starting to get into that frame. But technically, if you go to a bank, if you go to JP Morgan Chase, they're not going to consider you wealthy until it's either 30 million, 33 million, or 35 million, somewhere around there. I think the numbers moved recently. If you're not in those numbers, they don't do the unsecured loans. They don't put you into certain brackets. So the world's going to say you have to have a certain dollar amount. This is not necessarily true, and it can hurt you, which is interesting. So it depends. If you do a video every day, that video needs to be super hyper relevant to what's going on that day. So if I just did a video every day and we just came on here and talked about how to stack coins, live streams don't do anything for channel growth. You do not get new subscribers out of this very often. So I'll just give you guys a thing. Like, I did a video with Andy Sheckman right when silver was really taking off, and he had said something that he hadn't said anywhere else. And so that video went viral. We got 130,000 views on it. And I think that video alone brought in, here, I can tell you. Give me just a second. This won't take too long. I'll just make a point here. So a couple things happened with my video. 131,000 views with Andy. That was my top video with him. And he says stuff in here no one else was talking about. The video cut off on the editing. I don't know what happened on the video editor, but when I uploaded it, I didn't know it. And so almost everybody was still watching at the end. And that helps the algorithm. Algorithms like, you need more. So then I had to put the last 15 minutes in another video, and that got like another 60,000 views or so. But on a video like this, if I look at my analytics, this one brought in 1.5, so 1,500 new people as subscribers. Okay. And then if I look at my last live stream I did with Silver Heist last week, that brought in 2 new subscribers. So what I find is live streams are horrible for growing the channel, and they don't make you any money, and they take a lot of time. But this is where you build your community. This is where you build your stronger customer base of people that want to keep coming back and watching and doing stuff. So that's what we do with Ted Provenza. So I don't know everything that happened to Ted, but his videos are not deleted. They're still on YouTube here. I've just hidden them because it became so controversial. Basically, he got himself into a lot of hot water with YouTube with some controversial stuff that he was saying, and you get 3 strikes. He got 3 strikes and got banned. So I think you can find him over on Rumble. I brought him on because I saw him on Ron's Basement, and he was talking some really cool stuff around allodial titles and around having the stock certificates and stuff that no one else was saying at the time. So I brought him over, and it was good. And then he dropped a bomb basically saying that every Silver Eagle that's type 2 has a tracking device in it. Like, there's no way it can have a tracking device. There's nowhere to put it. It would get melted, all this stuff. And it turns out he was talking more about like a NFT, not an NFT, sorry, an NFC, near field communication type device. There's no evidence that that's happened, so it was an opinion. But he didn't really put it out there like that. And so that kind of blew a few things up, and it wasted a lot of time for people like Andy Sheckman and other people where they spent like their whole day dealing with people saying that they need to turn in their stuff because it's going to die. Like, they have to hurry and do it. Well, I'm at 2% on the computer. This thing's going to die on me. I didn't realize I was done. So we've hit our questions. But hey, guys, I want to thank you for coming out tonight. We'll have a live stream most likely again next Friday. I'm going to try to get some videos out either this weekend or early next week. And we'll go from there. If you guys have questions you want to ask me, the best way to do that is to sign up for one-to-one mentoring. If you want help with your own stack, you can reach me on Substack. There's a membership there to do text messages, or there's another membership level on here where I'll give you guys my cell phone and you can text with me. Anyway, hopefully that helps. I feel like I'm just talking to myself a little bit, but that's how it goes. I was hoping to show some of the garden. We'll have to do that on the next video, and or maybe I'll do a little live stream tomorrow for a few minutes to show you guys. But it's kind of a cool thing I got set up. So peace out. Have a great night. Thank you guys for the support and coming out. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.